And
sit down. We're ready to begin.
All right, everyone, we're live. We're broadcasting on the internet. It's 8:30 and we're gonna get started. All right, so a couple administrative items first. First, I want to let you know that you're all being recorded. This recording will be posted to the Hanford Site YouTube channel. We keep attendance for the Federal Advisory Committee Act, so we appreciate if you sign in. The sign-in is located outside this room, on the table to the right. There is also right on name tents, so we can have that automated. They're right on name tents. You can let people know who you are. I would like to use these for cue. When you want to speak, please turn that sideways. The room's a little crowded, and I'm not sure I can see everyone well. So if I'm missing you, flag me down, please. And one more thing before we begin, do you want to run over the meeting ground rules? Normally those are on your table tents, but these ones do not have that feature, I'm sorry to say. So run through those. Those consist of listen carefully, honor the guidance of the chair, be respectful and assume all participants have good intentions, minimize sidebar conversations in the room and in the chat, and mute yourself online or in the room. Mute yourself online and leave the room with answer. And with that, Megan has a housekeeping item to cover as well.
Over here, but yes,
Housekeeping in more ways than one.
exactly. Hi everyone, it's been a long time, so I'm excited everyone's here. The door you guys all came in is the door we exit if there's any sort of emergency or fire drill, not fire drill, fingers crossed, that does not happen today. So we'll go out the front and then our staging area is all the way to the back of the parking lot. We shouldn't need that today, just want to let you know. Bathrooms, it takes about an hour to clean them. That said, if you guys need to go and it's still closed, let us know. We can just have the janitor step out so you guys can use the restroom really quick. There's also a drinking fountain in the middle if you guys need to fill up your water bottles. We also made coffee in the front coffee room, lunchroom. There is creamer in the middle fridge for you guys as well. If you see it getting low, just let us know. We'll go make more. And there's also an Avanti market in the front. It's kind of silly. You can use cash if it's an exact amount. It won't give you change because it's meant for us employees, but you put money in and it like stays on your account. So use your card if you need to buy something. That's it.
All right, I think our chair can provide her statements.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Ray. Welcome, Stephanie. I think we're looking forward, well, I know we're looking forward to having a very productive meeting today and tomorrow. But we're very welcome, happy that you've joined us to at least, it's been a while. We haven't met since the end of the fiscal year between government shutdown and holidays and one thing and another. So we're really looking forward to hearing what's going on, both the opportunities for improvement and the successes. So let's just go briefly, very quickly around the room. That way Ray knows who he's interacting with because this is his first time with us. And then you're going to cover the people online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Susan Coleman, I'm the board chair and I represent public at large.
Mia Burke, I'm vice chair and represent Hanford Challenge.
Okay.
Rebecca Holland, I represent Hantech.
Okay. I'm Jeff Schramm, I'm with the EPA.
We've never met before. I'm Stephanie
Yeah,
Fly.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
the nuclear waste program manager for ecology.
Okay, know this guy here.
Paul Ryder, I'm the acting deputy manager for REG.
He's the guy that does all my dirty work.
Rob Davis, I represent the city of Pasco.
Tom Cecilia, Oregon Department of Energy.
Okay.
Chris Sutton, I'm the temporary chair of the Tank Waste Committee. Now Rob gets back as full-time chair.
Okay.
And I'm Ed Parsons, public at large.
Okay.
And I'm Josh Patton, I provide facilitation support.
Gotcha.
We have some more members of staff hiding on the room, so we'll spiral out. Starting with
Brent Harvey, street legal, half support.
Megan Tripp, DOE, DDFO. My house support. Pauline Third, HMIS house support. Marianne Montague, HMIS house support.
Ryan Miller, ecology. Tom Rogers, Washington State Department of Health Office of Radiation. Well,
David Page, Department of Health.
Cole Caldwell, Washington Department of Ecology.
Brian Levy, public at large.
Bob Court,
member of the public, hopefully soon to be approved to be a member of the AD. And over at Department of Ecology.
Oh, there you are, over there. Nice to meet you.
All right, I'm gonna run down the list online as I see them. You'll have a chance to open up your microphone, turn on your camera if you'd like, and introduce yourself. I'll start with our guest on the phone. Going down the lines, we have Cynthia. Chandra. Patrick.
Are you on mute?
Are you? Oh. Oh. Oh, there's Chandra for a second.
Yes, I'm here now. Sorry. HAP facilitation team, Chandra Flores.
Oh, yes, we don't know they can hear us. Patrick. Aaron.
Aaron Breich with the Benton Franklin Council of Governments, alternate.
This. Matt Hendrickson.
Matt Hendrickson, Oregon Department of Energy.
Kevin.
Kevin Danby representing Grant and Franklin counties.
Liz.
I think you said Liz. Liz
I did.
Madison for challenge. Good morning.
Good morning. Matthew Campbell.
Sorry, Matthew Campbell, Confederated Tribes Umatilla.
Dan.
Good morning, Dan McDonald with Ecology, Tank Waste Treatment Project Manager.
Dana.
Good morning, Dana McFadden, Department of Ecology.
Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. Michelle Holt with the Benton Franklin Council of Governments, primary.
Jesus.
Hello, Jesus Mota with Columbia Basin College.
Ben.
Good morning, Ben Pruitt, Washington Ecology Communications Team.
Richard.
Rich Williams, City of West Richland.
Simone.
Hello, Simone Anter, alternate for Columbia Riverkeeper.
Tyler.
Hi, excuse me. Yeah, Tyler Oates. I'm with Bechtel WTP Communications.
And Patrick, you want another shot at that?
Yes, even that popped up again. Yep, Patrick Conrad, HMIS Communications.
Thank you, everyone. I think that's everyone we have with us today. Anything else to cover before we launch into our first item?
Nope, let's get down to business.
I get down to business. I think I guess Ray is first.
All right. Well, it has been quite an exciting time for me. Give you a little bit of background, I guess, so you know a little bit about me. I'm a chemical engineer by training. Graduated from a college called Clarkson University 45 years ago or so. Hard to count once you get that high. And decided that nuclear energy was the future. And so I endeavored to figure out how I could get into nuclear energy. And I wound up finding a nuclear reactor in Idaho called the Advanced Test Reactor at the Idaho National Engineering Laboratory. And wound up getting a job as a nuclear reactor operator. So that's how I got started into the DOE. I moved from New York, where I was born and raised, to Idaho once I got the job in Idaho, I had to actually pull out a map, like any good New Yorker, and actually figure out just where exactly Idaho was. That was next to Wisconsin. I was off by just a little bit, but so from there, I've spent my entire year as a contractor, or my entire career as a contractor, working through the DOE system. I spent most of the first 17 years in Idaho at various doing various jobs. Then I went to Rocky Flats, was part of the Rocky Flats closure project, and so really like the last guy that left Rocky Flats because I ran all the waste disposition program there. So that was a really fantastic opportunity and a project that I was very proud to have been part of. It was a seminal moment in my career to have been, participate in something so big and so important. From there, I came up here, worked at tank farms for a little bit, and went back to Idaho again to go build a $1 billion treatment plant called the IWTU. Got that up and running, and then I went to West Valley for 4 years and worked on the D&D of that. Was what was formerly a commercial nuclear fuel reprocessing facility just south of Buffalo. And then on a March morning after the coldest February on record in Buffalo, New York, a gentleman named John Chucci called me and said, "Hey, we got this job opportunity in a place called Hanford. Would you be willing to move?" And so I said, "John, your timing is impeccable." And so I came out and took a job at 100K running that project, and it did the sludge retrieval and got it set up for the basin dewatering, and then from there I moved to actually running the laboratory for Navarro for about 3 years, and then this opportunity came up, and it was the right time in my career, and I think the right time in what DOE is trying to do. It's a really exciting time here at Hanford because I think we're at an inflection point where we've had a big buildup over many years to get to, a conclusion to a point of like, all right. And now we've achieved it on several things. And we'll go into that here in a little bit, but now it's like, all right, what's the next thing coming? And so now it's time to kind of make what we did operate and build off that and then pivot to some new things. And that's kind of what excited me about taking this job on. My wife thinks I'm nuts because I turned 65 about, 2 months ago. What the heck? What else I got to do with myself? Oh my God, I play golf for so fun, right? So anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm really excited to get to know folks. Like I say, I've only been a federal employee now for about 4 months. It was really a tumultuous start, as you all may recall. There was a bit of a tiff, perhaps, between the new Secretary of Energy and a certain senator. That was my very first day on the job. I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee yet when my boss got fired. So I had that going for me. And then, of course, the shutdown, that was an amazing thing to try to figure out and live through. And there was at one point I asked myself, what in the world am I doing? But then I said, what, if I can live through this, I could probably live through anything. So I made it, and here I am. All right. That's enough about me, I guess. So what about Hanford? You can go to the next slide. So obviously, for anybody that missed it, one of the big things that we accomplished over the last 12 months is the startup of the DF Law facility. So we started with the tank transfer. These are the folks over at H2C. And they're getting ready to move that material out of the AP 106 tank and transfer it through the pipeline there. You can see in the yellow that takes it over to the law facility. So this was a lot of coordination, things that you don't realize when you got two different contractors, H2C and BNI or WCCC, if you will, having to coordinate on, you send it and I'll receive it on, something as big as that. So there was a lot of work that went into making sure that these two were synced up in order to be able to make this transfer happen. And so they did it, and it went off without a hitch. That was on October 8th. And then the next slide. And of course, on October 15th, we got started, and you can see the smiles there on the faces. There is nothing like achieving something that you've been working so hard on for so long. It's such an amazing feeling. I've had the opportunity to be in that situation a couple times in my career, and I'm really happy for that. And, I hope everybody gets a chance to have that feeling of being part of something that you worked so hard and contributed so much to. And then you finally see it come to fruition, and it's just a great feeling. But you can see there on the right the stream of glass that's pouring down out of the pour spout, and the thermal sensors that measure the buildup of the glass in the containers as it goes there. That picture down at the bottom doesn't really do justice to the size of these containers that are full of glass, but they're enormous. How many tons are those? I remember off the top of their head how much they weigh a piece. I can't remember. Anyway, several metric tons of glass in one of those containers. They're huge. Next slide, please. And so that's been going well for the most part. It's hard when you're starting up a new and complicated facility like the VIT plant is, or like the law facility is. It's a very, very complicated process. So far they've moved about 50,000 gallons worth of AP 106 material over to the law facility, and they've treated just under 40,000 so far in the first 3 months of operation. There's been some equipment problems that they've had to work through. There's been a couple of minor issues with ammonia, small, very, very small ammonia leaks that they're having to tighten up connections and make sure, the ammonia, interestingly enough, is probably, the most hazardous thing that we have involving on the project. So making sure we have, we have lots and lots of controls and monitoring on ammonia. Folks have ammonia monitors. There's monitors all over the place. So that's something that they're working through, and that's been a little bit of a problem, but they're getting through it. They're getting ready now to start up for the probably the longest run that they'll have made so far today. They're getting ready to start and run for 30 days on a single melter. We were trying to get to a point of running 2 melters, and we were having some difficulty with that. So we kind of set that aside, and we went back to just single melter operation, and we ran through the permitting for both melters one at a time, made sure that we were able to meet all of the permit requirements, all the operational requirements on each individual melter, and that allowed Ecology then to issue the permit to let us go into actual startup operations. We are going to be coming back this spring into the dual melter operation to see if we can't get both melters working together at the same time, and see if that doesn't up our potential throughput rates through the process. So that's something that's coming down the road. All of this is important because of what you see right here is what the law facility has to do for us is it has to treat these wastes that we're retrieving and pre-treating so that we can create more double shell tank space that will allow us to do single shell tank removals. And so I think you're probably all aware right now we're pretty much full in the double shell tanks on the east side. And so it's critically important that law gets going and starts processing some significant volumes so that we can pre-treat more of what's in some of the other double shell tanks, and then create room to be able to make these single shell retrievals. Over the year, we got A101 completed, so that was good. We're now working on A102, and we're about, I think, 65% finished with A102 retrieval right now. And so we should have that one completed here in the next month or so. And then we're going to move on to A106. And so that's going to take us pretty much the rest of the year to complete the recovery of the A106 materials. So A101, I think, is the 22nd tank, if I remember right. I got that right. So we're getting there. We're making progress. You can see it's kind of a painstaking job. You got to kind of mobilize all of this stuff. It's a lot of slurry. It's a lot of solids in there. It's really difficult to get it mobilized and to get it pumped in and to make sure it, stays in solution and stuff. So, but the guys do a great job in making these transfers. And there's been some issues where we've clogged up pumps and stuff like that, and we have to deal with that kind of stuff. But the folks are very good at working those kind of corrective maintenance activities and doing that kind of stuff safely. So that's really kind of where we're at with tanks for right now. Switching gears a little bit, you can go to the next slide, is something that kind of quietly has been going on for 10 years and kind of, hidden behind that fanfare of the LAW startup but probably equally as important is this cesium and strontium capsule relocation project, which we reached basically startup almost identically at the same time as the LAW startup, interestingly enough. But this has been going on for about 10 years. I think most of you probably know that these capsules they contain about 1/3 of the total activity at the Hanford site. So that's and you know, being that's cesium, they're extremely radioactive, dangerously radioactive. So they've been stored in this Wesseff pool for a long time now. And, the fear would be is that something would happen and that this Wesseff pool would no longer be able to contain water. And if that would be the case in the pool drain, we'd have, basically lethal radiation dose that we would have to, be encountered. So moving these into this dry storage cask is a huge risk reduction for the site. You can see, you get a kind of an idea of a scale, if you can, on the left, that's one of the little cesium capsules being held by a remote robotic arm, so they're not very large. We pull those out one by one, stick them in a little tube, and then we stick these little tubes into a sleeve, and then we stick the sleeves into this giant shielded cask that you see right there. So it's a pretty significant operation, of course, obviously all done remotely, and so it's taken a long time to work out those processes and stuff. We've had a mock-up facility that we've used out at the FFTF complex, and that's how the operators trained and prepared to be able to run this operation. And I don't know how much this thing weighs, but I think it weighs more than the glass canisters, and you can see they're moving that with what they call an air pallet. So that thing is literally sliding across the concrete like a puck on an air hockey table. If you can imagine lifting something that massive just using air. So pretty amazing thing. So we're excuse me. Just yesterday, we achieved welding and completion of the very first one of these, and so now we're moving it out to the pad. So this would be about a 2-3 year project to get all these things transferred and loaded out. Next slide. Sort of going back to the melter process again, something, or not the melter, but the tank process, again, talking about creating tank space. We were able to get the 242A evaporator up and running again this last year. And we were able to basically treat 2 million gallons worth of that. What I should say is we were able to create 2 million gallons worth of tank space by operating the evaporator this year. So that was huge. But the interesting point about the evaporator is there's physical chemical limitations to just how much you can evaporate off the tank waste, because if you concentrate it too much, you create problems in trying to manage transfer and other aspects of handling the waste afterwards. So right now, this stuff is so concentrated, it's 20% more dense than water. That's how much dissolved chemicals there are in the tank waste. So that's about the limit that we can reach. So the evaporator will be able to do a little bit more. Well, I guess it says only one. I thought we did 2 million. I thought it's either 1 or 2 million. But we, there will be some role for the evaporator going forward, but it's going to be somewhat limited because, we've reached this limits of technology with what it can do. Next slide, please. Another thing that got going this year after a very intense project to kind of upgrade the capabilities of this is our effluent treatment facility. We got that finished this year, got that started up, and there was a real large backlog of processed water that needed to be treated. And so we treated about 7 gallons of that, 7 million gallons of that this year. So that was another big startup this year. And so, yeah, it's been just a lot of work that all kind of reached culmination in the last 12 months. So very exciting time to be here. A lot of good stuff that's been happening. H2C is doing a great job. They've come in, rolled up their sleeves, and they've gotten a lot of things done for the site. So next slide. And then another big activity that we have going on is we're just about full with our Supercell 10 at our ERDF disposal facility, the circular disposal cell. So we started working on our new one, and you can kind of see there. And if you can get a scale, I think those are These are those giant earth mover trucks down there at the bottom, those, really huge things that scrape up the earth. You can see how small they look compared to the size of that hole in the ground. So that's kind of an amazing, a huge scale of a waste pit that we're going to fill up. And so we've got that all dug out. Now we're ready to basically put down the liner and do all the other things that are necessary to bring that thing into operation. You can see, how on Supercell 10, we're almost full there up at the upper corner there. So we got to get this thing online and ready to support the missions going forward. Next slide. And then, of course, ho-hum treated another 2 billion gallons worth of groundwater again this year, right? It's almost becoming pedestrian. It's like that just 2 billion, that's all you can treat. So they did put in a new air stripping tower this year, and that increases some capability in the plant. Just continuing to retrieve tons and tons of hazardous components out of the groundwater. And, obviously that's going to be an ongoing thing for a long time to come. If you ever go out to the site and you look around, when you're driving around, you'll see black hoses just literally everywhere on site. They're running all over the place from, dozens or hundreds of wells all over the place. So an amazing operation, and it's just running flawlessly and continues to run flawlessly. Got some more wells drilled this year. We got all the wells done that we were supposed to do, so we're getting some more wells online. So anyway, continue to make good progress with groundwater. Next slide, please. And a few innovations. So this is one of the things we're really working on, is how do we do more? How do we do better? How do we continuously improve? What do we do? So one of the things that our laboratory folks are really proud of is this new method that they've been developing over the last couple of years. It's really tough to do organic chemistry measurements at the kind of low levels that we have. It's a very painstaking process. And very difficult to control and get accurate. So these guys worked on a method that cuts that time and that complication by about a third, I think, roughly. So it's this method, it's called a stir bar method. And I'm not even going to begin to try to explain how it does it better, but just take my word, it does it better, and it's a big deal. So getting that through, I think it had to go through EPA certification, right, or ecology certification, or who had to buy off on it? I can't remember. But it was an ecology certification, as a method, as an acceptable test method. So I think they've gotten through all of that, at least for a broad spectrum of organic chemicals. So anyway, that's up and available and running. That'll be a big benefit to the laboratory operation, and thus, of course, for the overall tank operation. The contractor HMIS is working on a number of things. They're basically our landlord, and they have to deal with all of these cocoon reactors and so forth. So they're developing methods that will allow them to, keep better track of how the facility is weathering, the condition of the facility through the years. These cocoon reactors are going to have to, basically withstand the elements for another 50 years or so before we go back and, once they're finally decayed enough that we can go back and safely, retrieve the cores and so forth out of them and finish the job. So they've developed some new technology, something called LiDAR that they're using, which is a computerized modeling. They use lasers to kind of map everything out, and then it computerizes it into a model. And then they can go back with the LiDAR and then check and see, is everything still the way it was, 5 years ago when we last did it. And it doesn't take all of the, it takes the human element out of it, and it's all done by computer. So that was kind of a big deal. Next slide, please. Other things we're working on, we're trying to upgrade our security there. We had some really old security equipment that we're putting in a new monitoring station there. We're using drones. We haven't been able to use drones for a long time because there were a lot of security issues and so forth with drone management. We've worked through all of that stuff now, and now we're really trying to build on a drone program that will allow, obviously, us to do some more inspections remotely and do some more things better. So that's a big deal to get the drone program up and running. Next slide, please. And I think that's going to take us to, all right, what's the future look like? So everybody knows we've got a new set of folks in charge back in Washington, DC. Tim Walsh is now, he's my boss basically back there, the new EM1. He is, I don't know how much you know about him. He's a real estate developer, I'll call him, but he's more than that. He's ex-military, he's an engineer himself, and he's a self-made man. He ran his own company. So he's quite a businessman, and he's a very sharp man, and he's been studying Hanford hard. So he would be able to give this presentation today if he were here. So that's how much he is actually involved in Hanford, and he plans to spend a lot of time here because this is obviously, Hanford has DOE EM has an $8 billion budget roughly, and we're about $3.5 billion of that. So we're a big part of his portfolio, and we're also have a lot of things going on. So he's going to spend a lot of time here. Secretary of Energy actually came last month for a day, actually 2 days. He spent 1 day over at the lab, and then another day over here with me, and went out and toured some of the sites at the facility, and I got to sit down with him and explain everything we're doing at Hanford. So he's a pretty energetic guy. Between these two, they've got some big dreams for Hanford on what could be possible here. One is accelerating the pace of cleanup here. And am I running short on time? Do I need to move on? Okay. All right. Let me know if I give you the hook when I need to. So
Sorry.
No, by all means. I don't know. I'm just rambling on. I'll talk all morning if you let me. So, they're talking about new reactor technologies, new, what do you call it? Small modular reactor, bringing that out here, bringing out data centers, bringing out new fuel cycle technologies. And so, they're off talking to a whole bunch of commercial industrial folks on, hey, well, if we made some of this land available out here at Hanford, would you want to come out and do some stuff, which is fantastic because, one of the things that we face here is as we try to say, we're putting ourselves out of a job trying to clean up Hanford. Well, let's create what the next industry that comes behind Hanford, which won't be it's going out of business. It'll be a sustainable and scientific and technological and advanced business for the future to sustain the region. And so that's what we really need. It's so important that we continue to make the gains that we make here at Hanford, so that we can prove that this community can solve these big challenges and handle these big projects. And that'll allow us to, land these other new commercial entities, these new industrial entities, and give us something that the nation truly needs. You'll hear what they talk about is energy dominance. That's the buzz phrase. And they envision Hanford as being a big part of, getting us to a point of where we have full control of our energy supply, and we have as much energy as we need, and it's affordable energy for all. And so that's kind of the mission and the goal. So that's a little snapshot of that. There's also more coming in terms of, and this is more the lab, but they're talking about something. Have you all heard of Project Genesis yet? It's a big initiative to use AI and try to really push back the boundaries of science using AI. And so that's a lofty goal. The Department of Energy has been named as the lead science agency for the government. So that's huge. You don't think of the Department of Energy as really being a science organization, but it is. I mean, with the national laboratory system that exists under the Department of Energy, it's a huge science-based mission within the Department of Energy. So that's very exciting stuff. Exciting, but probably not as exciting as we're building a new fire station. I don't know. These two things don't necessarily go together, but that's all right. So we do have a new fire station that got started here in September, as you see. It'll be about 2 years getting that constructed and ready to go. But that's basically right next to the bit plant and right out there on site. So it was something that's kind of desperately needed. So it's exciting that we'll be able to get that up and running here in the very near future. Let's see, is that it for me, or is there another slide? What's the next slide? Okay, there is something else. So public outreach. So, we'll continue, obviously, these kinds of forums and other mechanisms for public outreach. What I didn't really talk about, I guess none of these slides really talk about where are we going. So I'll just touch on that briefly. You know, as I know you all know, the holistic agreement has now been put into place, and we're now, you know, sowing the seeds to get that thing up and running here within about a 3-year period it's going to take. You know, currently in the west area, there's really no infrastructure to support any kind of this operation. So we're working on how do we upgrade powers. We have a power upgrade project that's ongoing this year. We're going to be working on putting in the kind of physical structures that are going to be needed to go do the retrievals. We're going to need to update all of the transfer equipment, the pumps and all of those systems that run the transfer equipment out there, because we haven't really done any transfers in a long time. And we're also under a contract now to go build the pre-treatment modules that are very, very similar to the Tisker that we're running out on the east side right now. So we'll have that. We're calling it WARM. This whole thing together is called the West Area Remediation.
Risk mitigation.
Risk mitigation. That's what it is. All right. And then of course, the last thing, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is that the H2C contractor just issued an RFP for a drought treatment plant to be established at a location to be determined based on how the proposals come in. And to give you an order of magnitude of what that looks like, it's advertised to be potentially a $4 billion procurement over a 15-year period. So that's a major initiative that's going to gain a lot of attention. So we'll get some good proposals from that, I'm sure. But that's 32 million gallons of material we're going to retrieve and treat and dispose of over a 15-year period. So that'll be a major undertaking. That's the next major project that we got going on. And then the second major initiative that we're going to work on is transuranic waste. We did a little bit of transuranic waste shipping and disposal at WIP back, a couple decades ago. Things kind of changed in the department and here at Hanford, and so we kind of left that aside, but now it's ready to start that back up again. WIP is done with their Idaho transfers, and so they're needing a new customer. We got buildings full of this stuff that we'd really love to get rid of because they're a problem. They're starting to corrode and they're starting to leak, and so we're having to manage that. So anyway, we're this year standing up all of the what they call mobile platforms. There's things called RTR and something called a Super Hank, which does radiological measurements and all of the other kinds of non-invasive sort of processes you have to do in order to certify this true waste will meet the waste acceptance criteria for the WIP facility. So we're getting those up and running right now. We're getting all the procedures in place to be able to do it. We're going to have to go through a bunch of there's like 3 different certifications that we'll have to go through by people from New Mexico, from both, the WIP and the regulatory agencies there. So all of that's going to happen this year. With any kind of luck, we'll have by this time next year, trucks starting to actually leave the Hanford site full of transuranic waste. Ultimately, within the next, I would say within 3 years, we ought to be able to get up to about 10 shipments a week. That's our goal. And so that'll be a big undertaking, and you'll have to get used to seeing those giant troop pack containers rolling down the street here shortly. So you've ever seen them before, you know what they look like, the flatbeds with the 3 big cylinders on the back of them. So yeah, those will become a pretty common sight here in about a year or so now. So that's some of what's coming down the pike, that plus the other reindustrialization stuff. And I think that's probably about where I'll leave it for now. Let you see if you have any questions.
Well, usually we wait till the end.
Okay, that's fine.
Till we get Stephanie and Jeff. Sorry, Jeff, I forgot to recognize you earlier.
You're fine.
So
Thank you.
We're hiding.
I do, under the use of the table.
on that note, I would like to give Stephanie the floor to run next. I will be your presentation running in a moment. I'll give you a minute to get it pulled up.
On the license.
Sorry.
What's the guy?
Oh, yeah. You said you just. Oh, really? Okay. All right. Yeah, that's
Great. Well, I see we have the presentation pulled up, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you here again today. It's great to see the HAB, even just committee of whole, getting together again. A lot of really important things, as you heard from Ray, have happened since the last time that we were able to meet and brief you. I'm Stephanie Scheif. I'm the Nuclear Waste Program Manager of the Washington State Department of Ecology. So the majority of what we do is overseeing the state side of Hanford's environmental cleanup. We do have an office that is based here in Richland and have around 100 full-time staff that work in our program, again, mostly overseeing the Hanford cleanup. Go to the next slide. Here's what we'll cover with you this morning. I have a pretty exciting leadership update on behalf of Ecology, give you an update on the outreach and education efforts that we do, talk about project updates, some of which you heard from Ray. We'll give you an update on the compliance activities that we've been doing, upcoming public involvement activities, and then of course an update on the Hanford site-wide dangerous waste permit. Going to the next slide. I'm very excited to announce we've hired a new section manager. Cole Caldwell is with us here in the room. He introduced himself this morning. He is our compliance and regulatory assistant section manager. He replaces Teresa Howell, who was previously in the role. A little bit about Cole. He joined us from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and he moved here from Colorado. Cole has a Bachelor's of Science in Wildlife Biology, Conservation and Management, and a minor in Biology. He has 13 plus years of progressively responsible environmental experience, both in federal and state service. He also previously worked for Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife for 8 years. He has experience in NEPA, SEPA, natural resource damages, budget, and most importantly, leading complex and political negotiations, which is one of the major tasks of that role. So you will probably see Cole in a lot of HAB meetings and a lot of our public meetings as we talk about all things Hanford. So please help me welcome Cole. You can go to the next slide and I'll talk about the really great work our outreach and education team has been doing at our program alt staff this year. Ryan and his team did a great job in talking about all of the great work that, you know, our 2 full-time community and outreach positions did over the scope of 2025, and it is just phenomenal. So our team had a super busy 2025. Since September, we engaged nearly 2,000 people, some in more rural areas, including a 2-day stint in Wenatchee and Omak schools, engaging middle school students. Over the entire year of 2025, the team participated in 45 events, seeing over 5,000 people. One of those in particular was one that we mentioned to you earlier, which was the major project we did for the Mock Hanford workshop. And that was where we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Benton and Franklin counties to hold a 2-day skill development workshop for teens focused on cleanup issues related to the Hanford nuclear waste cleanup. That was hugely successful, and I know our team is interested in doing more things like that in the future. We have a couple of upcoming events as well. Looking into this year in 2026, we have the Sportsman Show, where we will have a booth to continue our outreach efforts, and then an opportunity to do a career expo in Sunnyside in February. And again, if you were interested in us coming to a group that you were a part of doing outreach education to folks, you can always reach out to us at the email provided here. And I just really want to commend Ryan and his team on the robust job that they have done planning not just normal, outreach activities that we have been doing, but looking at ways we can engage underserved communities as well and do more progressive outreach to them. Our team has just done a phenomenal job in trying to do education on the Hanford cleanup. It is so complex and level setting, as you all know, is very hard when it comes to Hanford, and we want to invigorate interest in the next generation to hopefully come work at the Hanford site. So one of the most exciting things for us is, of course, Ray mentioned it, but the startup of the low activity waste facility. From the state perspective, you know, we signed the consent decree requiring startup and operation of this facility back in 2010. So this milestone was decades in the making. I have some staff that have worked there whole career. I'm sure Ray has some staff and contractors that have worked their whole career to see this facility get up and operating. So it really has been such a phenomenal and exciting time. And I think, you know, through Department of Energy, you maybe saw the news, we did a lot of news and outreach to try and communicate that DOE met their milestone for hot commissioning of the law facility back on October 15th. And since then, the facility has been up and operating. But leading up to October 15th, there wasn't a lot of transparency in everything that had to happen to reach that milestone. Our team, I know Ray's team as well, was out there observing environmental testing, you know, day and night, weekends. It didn't matter the time. We were out there making sure we understood the testing that was happening so we could issue the permits in a timely manner. I also really want to give kudos to John Martell and his team at the Department of Health for the really great work you did in partnership with us. We met routinely to make sure permits that we had to issue, licenses Department of Health had to issue, were on the same schedule so we could support startup, allow Department of Energy to achieve their milestone by the 15th. So a lot of really important work went into that. And I'll just say, you know, we did take the opportunity at the Department of Ecology to celebrate. Our deputy director came out and celebrated. We like to celebrate with cake. I think I've mentioned that before. So I dove into trying to make a melter shaped cake. And we do have photos of that. Ryan can probably share those. We'll have to share those with folks. But it was a really exciting time. And we had a lot of support of our leadership coming out to celebrate as well. It did, Ray. And we made, the cake was red velvet on Eddie's recommendation. I was trying to figure out, because he was like, because it's hot, right? So it was red velvet cake and had like a pudding in the center for the molten glass. So we got pretty creative to celebrate, and we all came together, and just really want to say it was a huge achievement and a lot of years in the making. So really just want to commend, you know, all of my staff who put in a lot of extra hours and really came up with creative solutions to issue the permits in time for Department of Energy to make the decision to meet the milestone. I know Ray mentioned this, but where we are as of end of 2025, more than 113 metric tons of glass have been poured. That includes 37,435. We got very specific, Ray. I know you said approximately 40,000, but we like numbers here. Gallons of tank waste has been made in 26 glass containers. So I did the math for you. You asked about how much each container, 4.3 metric tons per container for a filled container. There you go. And as you mentioned, you know, we stand ready to support the follow-on environmental testing for dual melters, you know, by spring of this year. And then any subsequent permit modifications that need to happen with that for Department of Energy to really ramp up and see the operational capacity for the law facility. Then you can go to the next slide. Ray mentioned some of this as well, but we also want to provide an update, you know, coming out of the holistic agreement, as Ray mentioned, we celebrated, Jeff and I mentioned this, the 1 year anniversary of signing up the holistic agreement not too long ago, maybe a week or so ago. And part of that agreement, Energy is set to retrieve waste from 22 tanks in Hanford's 200 West area. The low activity waste portion will be grouted for offsite disposal. That was part of the agreement. We did have the Energy was required to make that decision end of last year by December 31st of 2025. You maybe saw in the news that Department of Energy and Ecology agreed to extend out that milestone to July 1st of this year. And that's to allow Energy more decision-making time so they can provide Ecology the detail we need to be able to issue any permitting actions for on-site waste treatment. We are also continuing to discuss permitting with Department of Energy. Ray has expressed they want to try and accelerate the West area risk mitigation work, so we stand ready to support that. I think we are aligned in our interest to see the West area work and retrievals move forward as quickly as possible. And then one other item that just wanted to mention, we continue to track the waste incidental processing that will be needed for this work. I know we have continued to update folks, and folks have asked. That is something that Department of Energy will put out for public comment. And so we continue to look for that, as well as working on permits with the Department of Energy for this effort. Going to the next slide. Ray mentioned this achievement as well, but something we are equally excited about, and that is the movement of the cesium and strontium capsules from the waste encapsulation storage facility, wet storage to dry storage at the capsule storage area. That work, Department of Ecology had to issue permits for that work to happen. Those were issued a few years ago now, and we're really excited to see the work kicking off back in November. And to date, 121 cesium capsules have been loaded into the first cask. Ray, you said that cask has been welded, and in the next couple of weeks will be transferred to the dry storage area. So that's really exciting. We continue to monitor that work. There is a milestone out there as well for all of those transfers, I believe, to be completed by 2029. On the next slide. Wanted to just briefly mention the M15 and 16 and M85 milestone negotiations. You might also hear this coined as the M100 milestone negotiations or the adaptive milestone negotiations. We've been briefing you routinely on this. This is the negotiation that Energy, Ecology, and EPA had been updating the milestone series in an adaptive way to talk about the path forward for contaminated soil facility and groundwater milestones across the site. Under the tentative agreement that we signed back in December, it will have the existing milestone series of M15, 16, and 85 being replaced by a new milestone series, M100. There was a public meeting last night. It was hybrid for folks to attend in person and online. And I also understand this afternoon that our folks are going to be coming to the CARM subcommittee to be briefing you on that as well. So we look forward to more engagement and hearing any feedback on that. About the next slide. No ecology compliance activities. I know, we routinely talk about ecology compliance activities at the site, but as a delegated regulatory agency, we not only issue permits for environmental regulations we are delegated responsibilities for, but we also have obligations to ensure Department of Energy is complying with the permits that we issue. So we have a regular cadence of compliance inspections that we conduct. For each compliance inspection we conduct, we issue an inspection report for that. From October to December, we issued 3 compliance reports, and those are listed there. And they're also placed in the administrative record. If you're ever wondering, if a facility is in or out of compliance, all of that is documented in the inspection reports that we issue. Going to the next slide. Inspections that we have conducted since October, we did 6 inspections, and we'll just mention our compliance inspections are pretty in alignment with permits that we issue if they do have a permit. So compliance inspectors will look at waste analysis plans, process information, groundwater where applicable, security, personnel training, closure. Every facility has an operating record. And then if they have generator activities, we'll also take a look at those. Under our performance of partnership agreement that we have with the Environmental Protection Agency, we have to do a certain number of inspections every year and comply with that. We report quarterly to EPA on how we're doing. Now talking about public involvement activities. I mentioned that M15, M16, M85 is out for public comment right now, otherwise known as the adaptive milestone approach. That's out for public comment through February 8th. We did also offer tribal consultation on that effort. Ryan, I want to know, do you want to briefly plug the TPA public involvement survey?
Always. We've got the annual TPA public involvement survey out right now. As a very quick reminder, it's a survey that Ecology conducts on behalf of all 3 agencies on an annual basis to kind of gauge the public perception and get feedback on the previous years of public involvement activities and communications. So looking forward to getting feedback on this year's survey. I sent a message to the HAB earlier this week when it began, and encourage you guys, if you can please take it yourselves, share with your constituencies, and encourage folks to take it. We really value feedback, whether you participate in PI activities or not. We want to hear from as many people as we possibly can, and like we do every year, we'll get together a report, work on it with EPA and Energy, and then we'll issue that potentially in the springtime, and then come and brief the HAB on it, just like we have done the last couple of years. Really appreciate the feedback we've been getting on it. I know we really look forward to getting some feedback ahead of the survey going out this year, but of course we had the shutdown and weren't able to meet to discuss that with the HAB, but we look forward to getting back into that cadence the next go around.
And then we also anticipate the Hanford site air operating permit going out for a second public comment in April of 2026. And of course, last but not least, on the next slide, we're going to talk about a really big upcoming public comment opportunity. So not to rival startup of the law facility, but hugely excited to be in person with you to tell you that we have set the public comment period for the Rev 9 permit. It has taken us years to get to the place where we were able to, address all of the public comments we received on this permit back in 2012, working with Department of Energy to address deficiencies on the permit and get it back out for public comment. Under Eddie's leadership and our team, we have been making tremendous strides in finalizing the remainder of the addenda. Right now, our marker is we have 39 of the 52 operating closure, post-closure, and corrective action unit groups locked down and ready to go out for public comment. And of those, we have, minimal amount of work that needs to be done to complete the rest of those. So we do expect in the next couple of months to have all the files done, ready to be planning for that public comment period. And in particular, I want to thank the HAB for the input you've provided us so far in our public involvement activities that we've been preparing, and for your questions on the permit over the last several of years. We look forward to continue to engage with the board as we look to try and educate folks on this permit. We know it's very complicated, it's very long. So as much as we can do to help educate folks onto how to review that permit, given its size and complexity, we look forward to all of that feedback that you have for us. So just want to mention the public comment period is scheduled for June 29th for that, and it will be 120 days. And with that, I think that takes us to the last slide. And of course, we'll go to Jeff before questions.
That's right. Yeah. Floor, Jeff.
Well, the beauty of going behind DOE and ecology is they have such a great presentation that I don't have to put a presentation together. I can just point to all the great photos and stuff that they did. My name is Jeff Schramm. I am a remedial project manager here on the Hanford site. I'm glad to be sitting in for Laura Bulow, my manager, who apologizes that she can't be here today, but she's in Seattle doing other work. We have some politicals that are visiting, and she is assisting our region there today. So I'm lucky enough to be able to be here and speak with you all about some of the things that we're doing. Our agency and our office want to thank all of the folks that have that are behind all this work that DOE and ecology have talked about in their presentations. When I first took this job, one of the previous managers, Dennis Falk, said to me, he said, "Don't get so bogged down into the administrative aspects and bureaucracy of your job that you forget all of the people and the hard work that's done on this site." And I think that what Ray and Stephanie have talked about and the photos they've shown are a testament to that. There's an awful lot of really wonderful and bright people that have done a lot of really difficult work, and we acknowledge and appreciate that. We also want to thank those of you who have been involved in the HAB. Your advice is incredibly important, and it's an incredibly important aspect to the cleanup of Hanford, partnering and helping us make good decisions for the future of this site. We are aware of the delays in the membership packages and the changes that have been going on with the committee and some of the fears that folks have of some of those changes, and want to recognize that you know, many of you, it's volunteer, recognize that, and that oftentimes it doesn't feel like you're appreciated for the work that you do, but know that we do appreciate your willingness to give your time and your effort and participate in this manner, and it is a big deal. So we just want to recognize that it's frustrating, but let you know that we really do appreciate your time. It's been a challenging time this last year for our region. We, for Region 10, we lost 25 remedial project managers, which is a really big deal when you look at the scope of Region 10 for the Superfund sites that we manage. That's about a third of the program that's gone. And it seems that there are limited opportunities to fill those positions in the near future. So, you know, there's a lot of folks that are picking up a lot of work to make sure that you know, cleanup work across Region 10 is still being done and made a priority. We personally have said goodbye to a couple of people. I was thinking about Dave Enan, who recently retired. Decades and decades of work that he's given to the site. And I was thinking about Craig Cameron too, and then realized, boy, it's been a year and a half now. Like, it's been a while since he's been gone. And I couldn't believe that that much time has gone by. But for an office like ours and the years that those individuals have put in, it's been a real challenge for some of us who are newer to step up into those roles and do the work that needs to be done. That being said, Hanford remains a very high priority in Region 10. We have 4 remedial project managers out of the Hanford project office, and Laura as the office manager and section manager, and she oversees all of the federal facility projects in Region 10. So think the bases, and INL is one of them. And we actually are supported at our office by an individual out of the Oregon operations office, who oversees the INL project and some of the things that they've done to clean up over there, which has been pretty amazing as well. EPA plays an important role on site, and we see ourselves and our small little group as kind of like a SEAL team, right? That we have to be everywhere. We talk about the holistic negotiations, and we talk about permits and stuff, but the Hanford is a really big site, and there are other things that are going on that from a CERCLA standpoint that we oversee and look after that we feel are important. And some of those things, some of our priorities are the 300 area ROD amendment that we're looking at right now. That's a really big deal. And Stephanie and had spoke about the milestone negotiations. You can kind of think about that as the holistic negotiations. We're looking at the tank waste and kind of the vitrification and the tank waste. What are we going to do with the Central Plateau stuff? These negotiations that we're having now, these M15, M16, and M85 milestones, have a lot to do with the rest of the site. And what are we doing to clean up the rest of the site, which is that we still have some pretty major challenges. And, as everyone here can attest to, we have to walk and chew gum at the same time, right? We have to be able to recognize that there's a lot of things that we're having to manage and keep an eye on, that, groundwater is not something that's you can't really see it. It's tough, but there's a lot of groundwater mitigation that we're doing, a lot of work that we've done and will continue to look at how we are looking at groundwater on the Central Plateau and near the river corridor and other aspects of the site. So those milestones are really important. That public meeting last night was very important. I wasn't able to attend, but I heard it went pretty well. I look forward to more discussions about that. Our office looks forward to that. The other thing that's important to us is continuing the great work on the river corridor. We've got some work to do. It's been a couple of years now, but we were able to have the interim, I always want to say cocooning because that's the colloquial word, but the interim safe storage of K was finished. There's a lot of work at K that we're doing. We're looking for a ROD there in the future. N is a big deal. We're looking to get a final decision on a remedy at N, and we're working hard to do that. And the other operable units along the river corridor have some important work that's going on as well. And we're focused on that and continue to pay attention to what's happening as it relates to being adjacent to the river there. And as I mentioned, we've got ongoing groundwater cleanup across the site that's important to us and that we continue to have discussions about. We've also begun work with Ecology and DOE on kicking off the next CERCLA 5-year review report. That report is due in spring of 2027, so we're just getting started now as a team, a tri-party team to start that process and move forward and make sure that we meet that CERCLA obligation. It's an important review of remedy decisions that we have, where we have decisions in place where waste is left in place that is at unrestricted use. I'm trying to be careful of using some of these, terms, but really where we have decisions that are made, where we have waste in place, we go through and we do a review of those. We, as the tri-parties, and submit a report every 5 years. DOE is planning to speak to specifics to that report at a later date, as we kind of move forward with that. Today, one of my partners, Cass, and I are doing kind of a 5-year review 101 to educate on the process, generally speaking, to help people get up to speed as they hear more about this process and where we're going with it over the next year. My partners here, our partners here at DOE, they've seen some struggles too, and are working really hard to continue to stay positive, move forward, and do the difficult work as Ecology in light of a lot of changes. And we thank them for their hard work, and it's going to be a challenge. We all know that our resources are finite, money's finite, the work is still there, there's a lot to do, and we all are focused on making sure that we are cleaning up this site and keep it a very high priority. So that being said, on behalf of the EPA and our office, thank you all for the work that you're doing and for partnering with our agencies to help clean up a very complicated site. We appreciate you very much. And on that, I will go to questions now.
Questions?
All right, quick review. We have, most of us have table tents. If you'd like to be in queue, you can flip that. If you're on Teams, you can raise your hand. Some of you don't have them, so you may have to wave your hands, use the papers. We're gonna start with Tom, and we'll go to Ed and Simone. Figure out who's doing some stuff.
Thanks for the presentations, and it's great to have everybody here again. This has been sort of a perfect storm of staffing changes and government shutdown, and the most important projects actually kicking off. So it's the first time we have a chance to say congratulations, because there's been some huge accomplishments at the site, and it's all been done safely, and that's amazing. So I also wanted to take a moment to congratulate the team at the public meeting last night. Jason, John, and Annie did the most informative and approachable presentation I've ever seen at a public meeting, and they're extreme assets to your organizations. Question I have, and I have two, so I'll circle back around. But I know there's a big push to do things faster and less expensive, and that's important. But there's three parts of the triangle, right? The other part is how you do it well. So how are we going to ensure that expediting the cleanup doesn't mean not doing the cleanup?
Sacrificing that, well, we need to achieve good results. I mean, you will not sacrifice that. But you can do both things, right? You can find ways to streamline your processes. I think we have a lot of processes that are highly bureaucratic in nature, and I think that's what we really want to focus on. How do we get rid of the bureaucratic stuff and just focus on the technical and what's safe? And so I think that's really the challenge.
Thank you.
That would be
Ed.
Ray, welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope the fire hose you're drinking from is tasteful
Yeah,
water.
I think it's actually the fire hydrant itself.
Oh, I bet. A lot of credit. I would like to circle back to the grout project. And what are the expectations of the outcome of that? What are you going to be grouting from that facility?
The West area tanks, and it's like SX and U. Yeah. So there's like 24 tanks.
So the tank waste.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's 24 tanks that have been indicated as part of that 32 million gallons worth that we're going to try to get done.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the holistic agreement requires 22 tanks to be retrieved by 2040. And it's a low activity waste fraction of those tanks that energy will be looking at grouting.
Okay.
And sending off site.
Yeah.
That's AMPS processed.
That's the warm. So AMPS is the east side. So AMPS will replace TISCR. And then warm is essentially the same. It's all the same stuff. TISCR, AMPS, warm. They're all these columns with resin in it that'll absorb.
But the waste will be treated, the low activity waste will be pre-treated through a TISCR-like function before it's grouted.
Right, at the west.
At the west area.
That's right. Yes,
right.
At west.
Simone online has a question.
Hi, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that presentation. I wanted to circle back to WESIF, which it's really exciting that capsules are getting moved into dry storage. So I saw that the DNFSB posted a correspondence where Energy requested and was granted an extension for sealing the capsules in order to, I think, test or monitor kind of the helium. It sounded like there was an issue with helium leaking out of the welded seals. I was just wondering if there was an update on this or any more information. And has there, been an issue with the one sealed cask retaining helium? And And then I guess my second part of that question is, so you said one cask has been moved out to the dry storage pad. So have other casks been filled with capsules but not necessarily sealed yet, or kind of what's the order for that?
Okay, answer the last one first. No, so just completing the very first one. And I don't think it's even been fully relocated yet. I think it's just getting ready to be moved out there. But it's kind of like a one at a time process. So yeah, no, we haven't started any more retrievals or any of that yet. That'll go as soon as we get a new system set up in place, which will be very soon. So. Regarding the first issue, I'm going to be maybe talking a little out of school. I'm not fully coherent on all of the technical details, but it has to do with like an internal weld and the ability to certify the internal weld and make sure that that weld is of high enough integrity that it can make sure the healing doesn't leak. And we believe that we have enough mechanism to provide that certification, and that the NFSP has an alternative opinion on that. So it's not necessarily a problem of it's not working, or it's they don't believe we've done enough to certify that it's working properly, and we believe we have. And so we're going to make our technical arguments to them on why that's the case, and we'll have to just decide where we go from there. But that's the crux of it. Have I got that about right? Yeah.
Rick, I could help you out just a little bit on that.
Yeah.
The original fail point on those capsules was it was a inner and outer shell. Sadly, the inner shell was never welded on the majority of them, actually. And it was only the outer capsule itself that was welded using the HeliARC process, which is a helium-based gas coverage. But that's why they failed. That inner capsule was never welded at all, or if it was improperly welded. So now we're adding a third layer on top of that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That is very helpful. Thank you. I do have another question, so if I could get added back to the queue once everyone is gone, that'd be great. Thank you.
Jeff. Jeff, did you have something to add?
I did. I wanted to add before we got too far down the road away from Tom's point about how do we do things well in an environment where we're wanting to be bigger, better, faster, stronger. And I think one of the most important things, you brought up a good example last night when you speak of Jason Capron and Annie McCartney and John Temple. One of the most important things to be able to do that is transparency and collaboration in the process. Not just transparency and collaboration with the technical folks that are involved, but transparency and collaboration with our tribal partners and with the HAB and other partners as well. I think you can, as Ray said, we can be, and we have to be thinking about how can we be bigger, better, faster, stronger, with the funds that we're receiving, and we do it together, and we're transparent with each other. We take the difficult challenges and we lay them on the table, and that's what they've done in this milestone approach. We don't always agree on everything, and we would like to see things different in different areas, but laying it down on the table, talking it out, working it out, and saying, this is what we can do and when we can do it and where our focuses are, and have that discussion, again, not just with the tri-parties, but with our tribal partners and with the HAB, is a very important component of the how part of your question. I just wanted to touch on that before.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up in queue, we have me, Chris, and Rob. You're up.
I have a really quick follow-up to Simone's question about WESIF. When do you expect to transfer the VCC to the dry storage pad?
I guess I don't know for sure. It's got to be within days, I would expect. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And my original question is around Alara and the talk of getting rid of Alara, and I'm curious if you're looking into that and how it would impact Hanford workers if it was removed.
Yeah, so obviously that's a big thing that just kind of got put out here recently, right? And so it's still developing, but what specifically has been signed out and approved by the secretary is to remove reference to Alara from 835 and from which DOE order is Alara, and whichever DOE order covers Alara. Remove reference to Alara in those things. If you read the presidential directive, it's really designed at facilitating new commercial development is what they're really trying to do. So this isn't an Alara target at nuclear cleanup sites. It's an Alara that allows nuclear companies to be more productive and to give them incentives to invest in nuclear technology and new nuclear plants. That's really what the directive is all about, what the whole point of it is. How that goes back to us, if they do remove Alara from, the context of these orders, we'll wind up removing Alara from our procedures and remove Alara committees and that kind of stuff. I'm guessing is where that'll go. What will that mean to how we do business? I think probably nothing at all. I think that we will still continue to operate in the best interest of our employees and the workers in the field and making sure that we don't give them excessive radiation doses that aren't necessary. But that's always a balancing act between how much do you spend, how far do you go, what measures do you take versus what are you really saving? And that's a value proposition. So we'll see how it all kind of goes out. I think we have at the site taken Alara to extremes in a lot of occasions. Right now, I think by and large, there's almost no workers to get more than 100 MR dose on an annual basis, which is fairly above background, right? So if the whole idea of the study is that they believe that there's evidence that people can get up to, I'm not going to remember the exact numbers, but as much as 5,000 MR with annually with no significant health effects. So, and presumably years and years of evidence have proven that fact out. So we could be given folks could have absorbed more dose than they're absorbing, and we do spend lots of money to, keep people from absorbing dose, and we'll just have to continue to make those value decisions as we look at what we're doing in the future.
And
If I
then,
may, we want a sidebar, because I'm working on national committees with the American Board of Health Physics, I'd be glad to have a sidebar discussion on that, but people want to get into it a little bit more and give you a little more background information, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just add from the state perspective, this question has come up a couple of times because I've been talking to the HAB or the Oregon Hanford Cleanup Board. Washington State Department of Ecology doesn't oversee implementation of radiation requirements. That's Department of Health. So I just asked John Martell, do you have anything that you want to add on what you're looking at from a state agency perspective?
I mean, I'll just add, we're paying close attention to this. We're looking at, the executive order as well as effects on NRC requirements that we are required to implement across the state at other facilities. But, as far as the Hanford site, we do have authority over the radioactive air emissions on the Hanford site, issue radioactive air emissions license. We do have an Alara requirement in those regulations. So, whatever comes out of this, we're going to have to work through it and see how that affects our state rules and where we go from there. So it is something we're paying close attention to. So
I'll bring it to everybody's attention. We're the last country in the world still utilize the Alara designation. They've all moved on to the ICRP standards. So.
Right. And so a couple of points on that. Just lost. But so what? Interestingly, this wasn't me. This was somebody that told me once they were in an area in a hospital where they happened to be around where a bunch of medical aides that deliver radiological isotopes for cancer treatment stuff were getting their quarterly dose reports, and they were comparing how much did you get this quarter? Oh, I got 800 MR. How much did you get? Oh, I got 1,000 MR. I mean, that's the kind of doses that that medical professionals are getting on a quarterly basis, administering health benefits stuff. So that, that's gives you an idea of people that really kind of understand health effects of various things, people in medical profession and their willingness to, to what is necessary and understand that it's okay. So, Now, here's the other thing to say, Alara doesn't affect cleanup standards or cleanup mission in any way, right? It's strictly about personal dose and how much dose folks get doing the job that they do doing the cleanup work. So I know that, so don't equate one with the other, right? It's strictly about operational controls.
Sure. So next up, we have Chris.
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. The comment is kind of an interesting one, considering that we've just started vitrification class. I met a retiree on the Hanford Walking Trail this past weekend. And about 50 years ago, he was part of the team to look into the best ways to dispose of and treat tank waste. And that team was charged with looking at grouting tank waste, putting it in barrels, and dumping it in the trench off the ocean. The team spent 4 years on this before someone decided maybe this isn't a very good idea. So from that kind of effort to where we are today, this shows how far we've come. You know, both in our thinking about environmental safety and in the technology that we have to enable us to treat waste the way we're doing. And I thought that was just kind of an interesting point to bring out.
Yeah.
My question is this. In the RFP that you put out for grout, is that publicly available?
Yes, I believe so.
In the Cincinnati business office or here on the Hanford site?
H2C is the one that's letting the contract. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on their website or I don't know. I guess I don't know. We could, if you were interested in it, we could figure out if there's a way to get it to somebody that wants it.
If it's on the website, I can get it.
I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they had to actually qualify the bidders. They sent them only to the bidders and it's not publicly available. We'll
look into
we're gonna look into that. And if you want that, we can make that available.
Yeah.
It's definitely available for download.
Isn't it? Okay, you've seen it? Okay. All right. I would think it is, but yeah, okay.
Next up, we have Rob.
Yeah, I have a couple things to say. But, you know, based upon the life cycle report we've got here, you know, we've got 50 more years to do this. That means you got 10 more 5-year reviews you're gonna have to do. I guess what I'd like to ask is, what ways do you think we can say, the big issue is time. Every time we click another year, that's another 3 billion, 4, 10 billion, whatever it's gonna be back in 2080. Okay, so what can we do to streamline these processes? And it seems like we're all, we spend a lot of time in meetings and not making decisions and not making a lot of progress. For example, a drought plan. Bechtel can build a drought plan overseas in about 3 months. You know, so why would it, you know, I understand dealing with nuclear and all that, we've got all these other constraints, but can't we set our goals a little tighter than that? Granted, you got to be looking at funding and what's going to be coming in and that sort of thing, but our enemy is time. It's very clearly time. And so I really stress the fact that we need to put a lot of more effort into looking at the scope of some of this stuff and shrinking that time scale. Because I just, you know, it's hard for our legislators to advocate for this much money every single year for the Hanford site. And now we're looking at a contract somebody won here for $40 billion for 10 years. That's a lot of money and we have to respect that. I do have a couple more questions, but why has the 3.4 building been kind of dropped off the window here? I mean, we haven't talked about it in months. Okay, and up to that point, we're all surprised. Hey, we're finding stuff here we didn't know was there. So where are we on the 324? Are we still trying to make the decision of the hut or tear it down, or when can we see what the final conclusion is going to be?
Want to address that? I think as you know probably better than I with the rod that's going on.
Yeah, so we have a rod amendment for the 300 area that's addressed that, and I'll be careful to speak to specifics because it's one of my colleagues, that's their project. but we are moving forward on it. We do have a plan in place, and we have a ROD amendment that is working through the process of being developed. So probably the reason that you haven't heard about it as much is because we haven't been meeting as this group since the shutdown or before. But I will tell you, a lot of work has been done on that project specifically. It was at the top of my list of things that we are working on. So because we haven't been able to meet, and you haven't heard about it, by no means does it mean we have not been looking toward, what are we doing with the 324 building? It is a very big deal. It's a very big deal. It's a big deal for our agency. I know it's a big deal. I don't mean to speak for you, Ray, but I know it's a big deal for DOE as well and for the state. It's a really big deal. And so it certainly is that ROD amendment, that process, it begins to continue to move forward. You will hear a lot more. And as we meet more this year, you'll hear a lot about it because it's really neck and neck right now with some of these milestone negotiations as far as what's getting attention right now. But there's a lot that's been going on. And I want to address something else really too. And this is something that you said. You said 50 years and time. Some of the waste that's in place at Hanford will be here for a lot longer than that, and we'll be doing reviews on whether or not those remedies are working. And what I'm speaking to is like MNA type stuff, monitored natural attenuation of constituents in the soil and groundwater, far beyond 50 years. Like we're going to be looking at that far beyond 50 years. It's a complicated site, right? So you're right about money and how do we approach our cleanup in efficient ways, but we're going to be doing those types of circular reviews for a very long time, well beyond 50 years. So I just wanted to address that as well. But know that the 324 ROD amendment is in place and moving forward, and we're doing a lot of attention is paid on the 324 building,
which has a selected remedy.
Correct.
Associated.
Right.
Right. So
That's what
there is a remedy that's going to be proposed.
Correct.
And that might be funded next year, 2 years, 5 years.
Actually, funding is continuing. Right now, they are taking the building, as we call it, cold and dark. So they are getting the cleanup, things like that. We haven't walked away from it.
Okay, we just.
That's what I'm hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's that definitely active work continuing and preparing it for when we do actually get the amendment in place. To go back to your comment about how do we do things quicker and faster in these things, why does it take so long? It kind of relates to the thing I was talking about bureaucratic processes that are often the things that hold us up, right? So if we can figure out how to get better at the bureaucratic processes, I think we can get the technical stuff done quicker. So, yeah, that's a good setup. Appreciate that. You can be my straight man.
All right, so we're circling in the queue, we're circling back to Tom, then we have Richard, Simone, and Rebecca.
To start off, I want to plug our HAB work group on the permit that's going to be coming out in June. So if you want to join me in reading the 20,000 pages of record permit, talk to Josh or me. As far as the circular reviews, I think we put in our 100 BC ROD comment something about some of these institutional controls will require more than 500 circular reviews, 5 years. So we know that it's gonna be more than 50 years, but it's, the active part is 50 years, and that's a hard thing to wrap your head around. The transuranic waste. When Carlsbad ramps up a shipment campaign, they do a road show, and I know that's kicking off, I think, in August. Will they be ready with the road show along the whole transportation route by January of next year? Like, will that whole road show be done?
We'll go through all of that to make sure all the communities are ready. They know what's coming. They'll have their, emergency plans, so they would know what to deal with if something were to happen. Yeah, we'll absolutely do all that stuff.
That's really exciting. It's going to be great to see that leave the site. And then as far as recoveries of other retrievably carried waste, is that, so that's going to be we're going to be looking at the next funding for restarting that work.
Yeah, that'll be coming down the pike at some point. Right now we've got several years worth of stuff that's already, ready to go. We got 5,000 containers that's immediately certifiable.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got lots of work just ready to go. The retrieval, that of course, so yeah, that'll have to get kick-started again at some point.
So if you had a crystal ball and we're looking at cleanup priorities, we're talking about a little bit. Right now we're talking fiscal 28. If we wanted to start, advocating for that recovery of those previously stored waste, what year would be the best, most effective for us to throw our hat in the ring?
2023, what do you think? Or what do we got?
I'm sorry.
Just start going after the berry.
I can answer that question. So I would look at the M91 project management plan, which is available on the administrative record. So it actually identifies the year that retrievals are supposed to start again. And that requires some permitting and construction of a facility called the contact handle facility that we are currently working with Department of Energy on. As we ramp up for the 5,000 containers that are already at Central Waste Complex, we'll be working with them on the next steps for retrievals of waste and online trenches as well.
It's probably in the next decade somewhere.
Yes, I believe you're correct, in the realm of like 2030, 2033, somewhere around there. But it's actually noted specifically within the project management plan with the start camp.
Next up, we have Richard online.
Yeah, I guess I was going to comment back on something that Mr. Martell said. I'm not certain that ALERA changes would really change the air permitting aspects that much, because it still would be subject to the standards for treatment. And unless we're going to change public dose, that would be, I don't see that come out of the ALERA. It's more worker based. But I guess the other question is, with the treatment in the west area, would the storage of the cesium or the resin be going over to the current permitted storage facilities, or would you see another pad for the resin containers like we have on the east side?
I don't know that we've thought that through yet. We haven't really finished all of that design. I would assume, though, that we'd probably create a pad there. So I'd have to look at, what is the expected generation out of the east side? And, maybe that east side pad is only big enough to just take care of what we're planning to do on the east side. So I'm sorry, I don't have that answer right now, but we can take that as a follow-up to get back. Keegan, if you want to capture that. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have that readily available.
Okay.
You don't either at this point, do you? Yeah.
I was gonna say that during our tour of the AMP system down with anyway, they had the big Advantech, they had a pictorial base of what east is gonna look like with the pads laid out.
Yeah.
And there were pads there.
Okay, for the east area. He's talking about west area. What's that?
Excuse me, west area.
Oh, is that, okay,
Yeah,
so there are pads on the west area. Okay. I would assume that's what they would do, but yeah, that's what I would think.
Can I just clarify one thing with what I said? Thanks, Richard. Yeah, one thing, just on the public exposure and what I was getting to with the area, and I was talking more of a bigger picture with the executive order and some of the other stuff going on, but there are looking at increasing public exposure limits. So that is part of the older, ALAR is a subset of that, but they are looking at that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we're back to Simone.
Hi, thank you so much. So I had a question concerning future development. I think you mentioned of nuclear energy data centers and new fuel cycle technology. So my question is, where on site specifically is DOE looking to open up for development, and does that extend beyond the 19,000 acres that were opened up for the Clean Up to Clean Energy initiative? And then has there been any kind of public RFP or RFQ for these types of developments? And then I guess lastly, when is Energy hoping, or what's the goal to see these types of developments move forward on site, whether that's like begin permitting or beginning those talks? I think you mentioned those talks have already begun, but yeah, if you could speak a little bit more to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
So regarding what you referred to specifically is, I don't know what you said, 19,000 acres or whatever that is. I don't know exactly what that area is. I know, there's essentially, it's the corridor from, North Richland all the way to what we call the puzzle or the Y or the gate that's where you go into Hanford at. Some of the stuff that we're talking about right now involves existing facilities, FFTF. We're actually talking to several companies about that they would move into one of the buildings at the FFTF complex and start doing some of that's with regard to the fuel cycle companies that want to reclaim uranium and so forth and recycle it into new fuels and so forth. So that would be on existing properties. With regard to new reactor facilities, that it's all just conceptual discussion at this point. There's no public, RFPs or anything like that. It's all just kind of conceptual discussion. But the goal is to move out on this very quickly, because I don't know how much you guys really understand or know, but we are basically at a power deficit in the Pacific Northwest. We are energy starved in this area. And if we're going to put data centers in, we just can't with the existing power generation that we have available in this part of the nation. So it's absolutely critical that we put new energy production capability online in the area, and they're looking at Hanford as being the place where that can happen. So the goal is to do it, move out very quickly. Now, I haven't said that. Building and licensing a nuclear reactor is going to take some time, obviously, maybe perhaps even a decade. But the quicker we get started, the quicker we'll get to that.
If I may interject too, Ray.
Please.
One key point also, the fact that we're not using cleanup dollars for this effort. This is mostly done by commercial entities doing their own funding. We're providing the knowledge and documents, but we're not using cleanup dollars to support this.
Thank you. That's important to know. Absolutely. This and all of this stuff in no way detracts from our cleanup mission. Thank you, Tom, for pointing that out.
You're welcome. And then the other thing too is that a lot of these, as Ray said, like I emphasized, are conceptuals. We're getting visits from various companies, things of that nature, but nothing concrete has been put in place.
And just a follow on looking at his report, there's soon to be published what's called EM Vision 2040. I don't think it's even been published.
No, there's nothing published on it yet.
Yeah, so EM Vision 2040 would be the document. Might give you a little better insight when it gets published.
Got a little less than 10 minutes on this item still. We have 4 people left to queue. Those are Rebecca, Mia, Bob, and Tom. I'll start with Rebecca.
Hey, thank you guys for your presentations this morning. Good to see everybody again. First of all, I just wanted to comment about the 324 building. They have been doing work there. Actually, Monday, they made an airlock entry on Monday, which surprised me as well. Getting ready to do some fogging there in the D cell. And I was told that by April, they're supposed to start taking it cold and dark, the building. So
Cool and dim, I believe is what we're calling it.
cool and dim, yeah. It's very cold in that building anyway, so it's already cold. My other comment is about the Alara, and I'm not gonna get into it, diving down deep into it, but when I started my career at Hanford almost 40 years ago, we were allowed 300 millirem in a 7-day period, and a lot of us got it in a day. And so, you had to sit out until your 7 days was up, and that time period, that's gone on since then, we've reduced that to 500 millirem in a year. For a worker. And some of us are, got to that and got extensions and this isn't lost on us. I do represent the workforce and, it's not lost on us what's happening here. I think maybe there's a fear amongst the workforce that, oh my gosh, we're not going to have any limits and they're going to make us go in and, do all this work and they're going to expose us to all this, dangerous radiation levels. And like you said, the ICRP regulations, so it's on our radar, we're watching that. And especially me now, because I am the health advocate now for HAMTAC. But it's not really super worrisome, What I do kind of worry about though is the 324 building, for instance, when that work does begin, some very high risk, high lethal radiation
Yes,
doses
absolutely.
there.
Yes.
So, that's also something that, we kind of are gonna be watching in the future when and if, that does actually happen. So, but as far as you're taking away a program, but, you're not really taking away some regulations.
You're not changing the limits
Right.
that currently exist. That is a fact. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
So, like I said, it's not lost on us, and we're watching that because, we are, we represent the workforce. But, times have changed and even, the exposure limits that, like I said, in the early years, that we were allowed, now they've, and, the last thing that I have to say is you talked about better, cheaper, faster, blah, 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 why does it take so much time? I don't know how many of you guys are still, here that when I took everybody on that tour to 324 to the mock-up, do you remember that? Yeah, how long it took them just to get dressed, just to get in their two-pair and a respirator and to go in. And this is a mock-up facility, right? There's no real danger there. There's no radiation, contamination, nothing. Just how long just it took this to get them suited up to go in. And then to go do a job, and then how long it takes them to get out. Now they're contaminated, right? So, I think a lot of people, they don't understand, the nuances of, just what the workforce has to go through just to get in to do the work, the planning, the, getting in, doing the job, getting out and doing it safely and not getting contaminated or spreading contamination. So that's my 2 cents worth as far as, let's do it faster. Well, yeah, let's do it safe too. So.
Let me tag on to something you said too. Because I'm like you, I've been in this business a long time and I took a lot of dose when I was younger too. But now we have this new workforce, right? That doesn't remember or doesn't have that experience base of that it's, it's okay. And I think in a lot of ways over the years, we've made the younger folks afraid of radiation, right? And I've seen it firsthand. People are talking about it like it's something to be feared, right? And even small doses. One guy said, I just got to know, is that going to be 500 MR if I grab that bottle and put it here? I want to know if my hand's going to fall off, right? He literally said that. It was a fitter that we had to do that. So, I mean, I think there's an education that needs to go on with this new workforce as they're coming in. The radiation isn't something to be feared. It's just something to be managed. And we can do that safely. So thank you for that comment. I appreciate that.
4 minutes, Mia, you're up.
Ray, to your comments about streamlining the processes and the bureaucratic process to go faster, can you provide some examples of what you mean by that? How you would streamline, how you would change bureaucratic processes?
So DOE Order 413 is one. That is a project management DOE department order that when we have a new facility that we're going to construct, we have to go through this rigorous set of gates that involve committee reviews and all kinds of interim steps, and it takes phenomenal amount of time to generate voluminous documents for somebody to review, and all of it is really, it doesn't really provide all that much value. We've kind of gone, and it was all done based on the fact that, a long time ago, what we did was contractors would tell DOE, here's how much this project's going to cost. But we can't afford that. You need to tell me it costs less. Okay, it'll cost this much. And then we go do the project, and guess what? Now it costs this much. And everybody's like, why can't you guys manage projects? And so all your projects overrun on cost. So the answer was putting this whole rigorous set of controls in to try to do it better. And that hasn't actually achieved the goal. It's actually just made things more expensive in the long run. So that's one we're really focusing on right now. That's an example of one. There's lots of them that are out there, but that's the kind of thing.
2 minutes, Bob.
Quick thing, the Western PSC portable storage containers in a well. There was a PNFSB letter talked about a visual versus a other type of check with the inner well. Was anything done on that inner well in addition to the visual inspection before you welded the outer well yesterday?
I believe we're just continuing to follow our process, which involves the visual inspection. Yes.
A few have grown beyond our remaining time. Would you all be willing to stay a couple extra minutes?
I'm fine.
but only a couple of extra minutes. We have got a packed rest of the morning and then the afternoon. So, and they've got, their time is valuable too. So I don't want to abuse that.
That's fine. I know it's been a while and there's a lot of things that have gone on, right?
Ray, we could keep you here all day.
Yeah,
I know this
let's
group.
draw the line there. So, all right.
This group could keep asking questions for the rest of the day.
Okay.
You're on the line, Tom, Chris, and Brian. So, Tom.
So I just quick follow-up on Simone's question. I know we have an energy deficit in the region. We have a contract awarded for cleanup to clean energy facility for a solar facility on site. Is that, it's not your purview? It's
not. I know I'm a little bit knowledgeable.
Is it still alive? Is
It's
the contract
alive.
voided? What's going on with that?
So the problem is that they've approached Bonneville Power and as I understand it, Bonneville Power is not willing to say, yeah, we'll take your power because it's too intermittent and we don't know how to deal with that. So they're retreating now into, as I understand it, the possibility of saying, okay, what if we couple it with a battery storage and then we can get a data center that'll come in and so they'll make power when they can put it to batteries, and then the data center would take that during high demand periods and they would use that. So I think that's where it's headed, but they still, obviously, there's a lot of pieces to be put together to make that, make sure that that's going to be acceptable. So, yeah.
Chris.
As far as streamlining goes a little bit, when I was working at the Fernald site, our CEO at a public meeting like this would ask a question about what is the major product that you're producing? He said, our major product is paperwork. And that's true. When you look at all the paperwork that people at a site like this produce, the time it takes, it's immense. All that required by regulatory processes. But what a lot of people don't realize is when I retired, CHPRC at that time had about 3,500 procedures. A lot of those procedures had to be reviewed once a year. We had a phenomenal number of people just working on procedures. We have a phenomenal number of people doing nothing but paperwork. And to the extent that tri-party agencies can get together and say, how can we reduce paperwork? That can free up a lot of people, a lot of time, and a lot of money. And I don't know how many procedures we have on site now with the tank farms and the vit plant coming up. But I think I read somewhere at one of these DOE newsletters, EM newsletters, that the vit plant, WTP, was proud because they just finished their 3,100th procedure. I don't know whether that's true or not.
Could be. Wouldn't surprise me.
But I'll bet you we're closing in on something like 10,000 procedures on site. That's
Right.
a hell of a lot of time and paperwork and effort, and it's invisible to the public. It's invisible to groups like this. But those are the details that say how work is done.
Mm-hmm.
To minutia.
Mm-hmm.
And they're invisible to the public because they're not available to the public. You can't go on site and get procedures. It's a DOE policy, and they have to go through a really formal, time-consuming process to release a procedure outside to an outside group. So whatever you can do to reduce paperwork, you'll reduce time and you'll get people.
Amen. Amen. So I'll even take that a step further. So you got, the tank farm, and now you got an outgoing contractor, WRPS, who worked out there for 17 years. And every time there was an event of any kind, what do? Well, the corrective action. We corrective actions. What's the corrective action? Well, let's put another requirement in the procedure. And every time there's another thing that happens, let's put another requirement in the procedure, another requirement in the procedure. And pretty soon you got 17 years worth of basically requiring yourself into a box that you can't get out.
That's exactly right. When you first write a procedure, it's doable, it's achievable. The next you review someone, we need to put this in there.
Right, yeah.
We need to put this in there. And then you get to the point where the procedure can't be done.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's no doubt. And that's, again, some of the bureaucratic stuff that we need to tackle.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm working with. What's that?
Make it safe.
Brian, you have the last question.
Okay, this should be a quick one. Do you know where we're at with reclaiming or patching A1, 1 or 2?
I don't. Well, we'd have to take a note to get back on that. I don't have any idea on that one, sorry.
In the tank waste committee, we've had several presentations on it. You remember what the last one was, a year ago or 2 years? Something recent where they were using cold spray?
Cold spray is gonna go around the perimeter,
That's right.
picking it, but
Yeah.
that was last year.
They can't get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, we'll get you an update on that. Megan's got that noted, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, are we excused?
Tap out now.
Right while you can. These guys can, everything, time you say something, it'll trigger another question.
Yeah, well, and I'm happy to answer them. So, I think you will find that I'm a pretty open person. I'll just tell you what's going on and what I think. So, anybody can come talk to me if they want to see it, whatever you want.
Stay on schedule.
I know.
About 5 minutes.
Um,
5-minute break.
Thank you.
Well, until 10:30.
With that, I think I'm ready to pass it off to the Chris and Ed team. I will note there are some new seats up at the table if anyone wants to move off the back wall.
All right, so you don't mind, Chris, I'll go ahead and open this up and you poke me under the table. It will work. So the process of putting together this recommendation has developed into a contentious issue with two different viewpoints. Not necessarily a different goal, but a different way of how to approach it.
Expanded beyond the scope of which DOE voluntarily agreed.
What's that?
There was a hot mic that's been muted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. So one thinking, and I'll let Tom speak to it here very briefly, was to basically somewhat the status quo of how we produce this document and with some thoughts about how we can reorganize it. It's a little bit different from prior advisement letter. The other side of the coin was to look at the expectations of the Hanford Advisory Board relative to our operating ground rules, which in a nutshell basically said we're to be doing high level advice relative to priorities. And that's kind of where it's at. The ground rules have been, in my mind, is something that I think we kind of have to follow. There are basic charters in my mind. And so that really produces a kind of a different viewpoint of what the priorities should be presented back to the agencies. Yeah, that was it.
I want to build on that a little bit. When the IM team was first formed, I put out two versions of a suggested format and content for this advice. One of them was what we've done in the past 3 or 4 or 5 years is we produce a table of specific work projects that are important to the HAB and our constituencies, a number of which have appeared in 5-year plans. The second draft I put out for the IM team was along the lines of what Ed has talked about, and it contained purely policy-oriented type advice, and wasn't related to specific work projects or for the 5-year plan. And sent both out to the IM team and said, what should we want to do? And the IM team came back and said, well, we need a hybrid, an advice that captures parts of both. Both the way we've done things traditionally and to try and incorporate policy level advice as well. And so that's the route that we've gone on. And we have produced a number of drafts in which we've tried to incorporate both approaches. And what's in front of you now is the latest draft, which tries to incorporate both approaches. But within that, there's some contentious issues about certain things that appear that we've not been able to come to grips with to date. And in terms of the presentation here, what we're looking at is perhaps your ideas to get broader input of ideas on and your thoughts on what's in front of you. And I'll let Ed take it from there.
You want to go ahead?
Yeah.
I've got some, let me finish my thought.
Okay,
I'll throw it over to you. Those of you who have not read the operating ground rules, please go do that. More than encourage you to. I think it's absolutely necessary. It really kind of opened my eyes on why we exist, why are we here. It does give us some very good guidance of what to do in certain circumstances. And in my mind, that is the expectation from the three agencies to behave like this operating ground rules. In particular, the opening statement regarding the Hanford Advisory Board, the board provides advice to all tri-party agency. The primary mission of the board is to provide informed recommendations and advice to the EPA and college on the selected major policy issues related to the cleanup of the Hanford site. That's right out of the opening mission statement. Please go reread that again. Tom, thanks for your patience.
You know, I don't disagree. I think the operating ground rules is why we're here. It's right now, that's the document that tells us what we have to do. We had a operations work group session, how many years ago? Three or 4 years ago, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We came up with the revised operating ground rules that got sort of stuck in headquarters because they're updating their orders. One thing that we've been asking for from the tri-party agencies since then is a definition of what high-level advice is. Because my high-level policy advice is obviously a little different than yours. So that's, nobody's working against the operating ground rules in any of our work because we're not allowed to. So I think that's just it's a understanding that we need to come to on what exactly high-level advice means. And that's a good discussion to have periodically. I think the hybrid method that Chris sort of was talking about it's incremental change. It's not a really long 4-page table of this specific thing, but it also actually does convey the cleanup priorities of the board, because that's the foundational request that we get from the agencies every year is what is your cleanup priority? That's a specific ask. That's not necessarily high level. The agencies are asking us to get a little more in the weeds, in my interpretation. And we have to balance that, obviously, always. So that's just, I'm not a status quo person. I'm always looking for continual improvement. But I'm also, I don't like trying to turn a hairpin on a battleship.
The one thing, we did pick a theme this year for the advice, and that is we're concerned about the cost and the length of the cleanup. This has been a concern probably for most of the HAB members, and it's come up time and time again. And you heard Ray Geimer talk about it today. We've heard Tim Walsh, the new director of EM, talk about it. And Tom gave a talk earlier this year on the latest life cycle report, in which cleanup has been extended 9 years at a cost of over $50 billion from just the 2022 life cycle report. So the theme that we tried to address in here, and it is different from what we've done, is what are some of the recommendations we have, the advice we have for the tri-party agencies to reduce schedule and reduce cost, because we're afraid that the money is not going to be there in order to get the cleanup done in the time frame that we all want, that DOE wants at the tri-party agencies. And within that context, we tried to incorporate a hybrid type advice directed toward efficiency, cost reduction, and schedule acceleration. And that is what you see and why you see a lot in there about cost and schedule. And in all the advice topics, bullets, we've tried to tie back to cost reduction and schedule acceleration.
I think there's one advice point that doesn't, but everything else does.
Yeah, maybe one advice point does.
Okay. So have we confused everybody about what's going on and how we're going to move forward?
Yeah.
Any questions for Chris and I?
So, well, the whole IM team, and we're looking for additional input from people who haven't been on the IM team and are looking at this for the first time, but have been to a number of board meetings going forward.
All right, so let me back it up for those that have been around for the last few years, that in the past, the IM team developed a draft and sat down with each individual committee to get proposed changes to the document. Instead of doing 4 different committee discussions, we're just doing the one today. So this is your opportunity to walk through this document and say what you can live with, what you can't live with, make
Or
any
additions
recommendations.
that you- that
Right,
we haven't
additions,
thought of.
right. The goal is then the IM team will take it back, clean it up. It will go to the ESC at the end of this month with the plan. Hopefully, the ESC approves it and it will go to the full board for approval in February. Yes, Tom?
Do we have an IM team meeting scheduled with DDFO before the ESC meeting?
Not yet, but we can,
Okay.
don't worry about that.
Okay.
Mr. Process, chill out. Let's get a document. It locked and loaded.
So that being said, let's, is everybody ready to roll through it?
Ready.
You're ready. All right. So background. Thank you, Josh. We'll, just, I think, please read that. It's not anything other than we do bring up the 2028 inner priorities. We have challenges here, but we're just currently acknowledging that the fiscal year plan is there. That's what it is. And we make our first statement concerned about the cleanup mission could be impacted. And going down, anything on the first paragraph?
Well, let me say this too. The IM team is in pretty much agreement with what's in the background.
Yes.
There's been a fair bit of wordsmithing going on in various drafts.
Thank you.
And I don't think, speaking for myself, Tom and Mia and Ed, I don't think there's really heartburn about anything in the background. There might be a couple.
But this is the opportunity for fresh eyes.
Yeah,
that's right.
but it is.
You guys have been living this for the
I'm
past.
sitting on my hand.
So this is the opportunity for fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Yes, Rob.
Are we on the second paragraph now?
Can we move to the second? Is everybody good with the first paragraph? Let's move into the second paragraph.
Second sentence is incomplete in that this fiscal year 2028 cleanup priorities advice focuses instead on. The instead is not included what it is that we're doing. The instead would imply that the person knew what we've done year before and year before and year before. Let's just remove the word instead.
No, the first sentence says what we've done in the past. In the past, we focused on specific work scopes to be accomplished in a given year. Instead, we're now looking at this. So it references the first sentence.
How about we do instead, the HAB is focusing on the fiscal year 2028 cleanup priorities and the multiple challenges in the coming years.
You could move it to the front of the sentence. if you wanted, but I don't know.
Do we need it?
Are we saying that we didn't focus on the cleanup priorities in past years? I think we did.
No,
I think
Didn't
it's
have
saying-
it right.
Focused on
Are you
specific
saying
work
you're
scopes.
looking at multiple years into the future rather than one specific fiscal year? So you could say on multiple challenges in, well, you say the coming years, so you're looking at multiple
How about
years.
in 2028 and beyond?
There you go.
I think we say that somewhere else down there.
We did once upon a time.
But that's what you're getting at. You're looking at, because when you read the advice,
Right.
Yeah.
you're looking at 2030, you're looking at beyond just 2028.
27,
Yay.
Okay.
What we're looking at is projects that would take that long to get done. Okay, and so that's why I kind of question the instead there, because we're not saying what the projects.
We're not just projects. We're saying the whole scope of the Hanford cleanup is, we're concerned about what's the cost,
Yeah, and
regardless.
so if we could just remove the word instead. we're focused on multiple challenges in coming years.
Take a look at what he's got up to on the screen.
I like it.
Get rid of the on multiple challenges.
As long as it's not reducing the scope.
Rest of that
Got
sentence.
taken out.
Everybody, we got.
Makes it shorter, more
Make it
succinct.
short. All right, let's move forward. Well, somebody's got a hard one. Raise your hand. I don't like it. Okay, back to collaboration. The agencies, members of the workforce has helped advance the cleanup deliveries to date. However, the Hampton Board is concerned the cleanup mission could be impacted.
Advisory board.
Could be impacted by the combination of product budget shortfalls, impact from participant and drastically expanding estimate of life cycle resources report. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that hasn't changed since the beginning.
Okay. So are we good with the first paragraph?
Second paragraph.
Fiscal year 28, advanced. I'm not gonna read this, I'm a horrible reader.
We don't need the parentheses. We
Yeah,
don't need the endpoint again, because we already introduced it. Fiscal year, the second, on the next paragraph down.
Oh, you're right.
oh. Good point.
I think for all the agencies, Josh,
You've already, yeah, that's a,
but I don't know if it's what we want to get into.
all right. I want to focus on
Yeah.
concept and priorities rather.
Right.
Why don't you just say this advice?
Yeah, you could just, now you can go through and just say this advice and then use DOE or, you know, like the acronym.
Yes, instead of doing the fiscal year 2028 plan, just do this advice.
I like it.
We presented here. Yep, sounds good.
Anything else? Next. 2025 life cycle reports. So this is right out of basically a very one sentence synopsis of the life cycle report. Why we're concerned with it. Okay, any comments on that? Any changes? Editorial? Spelling? All right.
And it's interesting that we heard today too, in casual conversation, that there's gonna be contamination on site that has to be cleaned up well beyond 2090. So,
Yeah, because Tom and I agree, that's just,
Yeah, 2090 is optimistic.
so we,
And once it gets past to LM, it's gonna be another couple hundred years.
yeah, well,
We won't be.
there's some work that has to be done there from two sides. All right,
Did you
so.
say anything about constant dollars? Meaning, inflation. Are those dollars inflation adjusted?
they are.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the report, you know, that it's the baseline and the higher level real cost.
And I don't remember that do you remember whether it gave constant dollars for each of the things or just inflated? I think it just gave.
It's just inflated.
dollars. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
It's just
The
inflated.
one, the life cycle report just gave cost and inflated dollars. It didn't give it present day dollars.
Okay.
And it doesn't assume realistic funding levels either.
Right. It's not. I don't think we're gonna get 12 billion.
I had a good conversation about that, at last night's public meeting. I highly recommend everyone watch the video.
Okay, so next one, the 2025 Blackstone noted the majority of the Hanford funding will be directed toward change waste treatments. Here's our concern that deviates, that suggests they take a harder look at directing other funds towards cleaning up the rest of the Hanford site. I like that. I think what we're really saying is they maybe need to think about the balanced priorities. Yeah, so focusing on the tank waste treatment may not be in the best interest. Any comments on that? Anybody? All right, let's keep moving. Lastly, this advice reflects.
Yeah, we struggled where to put that paragraph in.
Yeah, I had some minor wording on that.
There's also a clause on this last paragraph with Tim Walsh at the end that says, assuming there's no reduction in quality of cleanup or something along those lines. That's.
Well, there's a clause had to do with liabilities. To reduce liability or to leverage liabilities to the American public.
No, after that, the one that we added at the IM team last time.
Yeah, that was in this.
Yeah, there's another thing after that.
Right. So I had some different words, I would like to put in, and I don't think we could do that right now because not enough people have had a chance to read it, but I would like to say the HAB concurs with the 6 priorities specified by Tim Walsh, Secretary, in his report on EM 2025 highlights. I don't think we can do that because we had, I want to look at it. I've read it, but it's not necessarily in that.
That'd be a hard thing to get consensus on, I think.
Yeah, I do not get that.
But yeah, so there's the only thing that we had that is not on this paragraph, is at the end, after the sentence, there's something along the lines of, cleaning up faster and cheaper, and it should not be at the expense of cleaning up well, or something along those lines, which, that was a question we asked, and he said that it's gonna be done, so it's good to do,
Yeah, how did he put it? How did he hit a really good way?
If you could say, instead of quality, say quality standards. Because we have standards out there, and that's what they're planning up to.
Yeah, so we'll have to, we'll wordsmith that. But that's just for general concept, for those of you who aren't on the IM team, that's a discussion that we're still working on wordsmithing.
Okay. All right. Good here. We're ready to move on to advice. All right, first paragraph. I think what this should really lead in, additionally, the board recognizes the importance of assuring continuous safe, secure, and compliant manners of the Hanford's workforce through the continued adaptation of integrated safety management, including the management, infrastructure, and safeties and security. For those of you who aren't real familiar with integrated safety management, the best one sentence description of it, it's of incorporating environmental safety and health into work planning and execution. That is the one sentence that really describes it. It's not 100%, but when you talk about, and they're required by federal regulations, regulatory processes to do ISM. ISM really does all of this. It incorporates finance, safety, environmental, nuclear safety, public safety, all of that stuff has to be put in and balanced. And I think that's what is the whole intent here. So if we just say, continue to do ISM as you're supposed to do, then the health and workforce, safe and environmentally conscious performance work fundamentals core value are really one of the core values of integrated safety management. I want to say it twice.
So how would you propose rewriting it? So people can see
All right.
on the screen.
So here we go.
So John can type it. Start.
Second sentence, additionally, the board recognizes the importance of safe, secure, and compliant management of the Hanford's budget and workforce. You could even semicolon through the continued adaptation and use of integrated safety management.
So the continued something in use.
Through continued
Adaptation.
adaptation of integrated safety management. It's a system, it's not a program. Take the S off.
That works.
You got it all there. Including finance, by the way. Finance is part of the process.
ISM is the umbrella for
Right.
all work done on the site.
No, conduct of operations
The-
is the umbrella
the only-
under which all work is done on site, and conduct of operations includes integrated safety management.
Other way
So
around.
the only question I
Yeah,
have,
that's
so
what I thought. It was the other way around.
so the only question I have,
The conduct of operations order, the latest version.
the only question I have here is, does the board know enough about integrated safety management systems to provide informed consent on it? And I don't think we've ever gotten a presentation, at least in the past decade, on what that means.
You absolutely have. I've done 3 personally to the board. About 4 years
How
ago.
many, how long?
About 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
So that's,
We've never had one.
just so,
I can pull out my old presentation.
yeah, so Chris and I haven't seen it, so I just, that's one question. I like the idea, I like the concept, I like the words, but is it enough to have informed consent on what that means for, just, me trying to make sure we're following.
Can
process.
we, okay,
Maybe it's just nitpicking.
put a,
It's not high level.
we put it at the bottom of the page with the definition of ISM.
Yeah, that's put a reference of what it is.
Yeah. Good idea. We can do that. Thank you.
A footnote, that's what I was thinking of.
Well, no.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Is it even necessary to put that in there? I mean, every
Well,
contract that is out, I mean, it's a federal order that they followed ISMS,
it's more,
And so that-
it's part of the regulatory.
right?
implementation.
So what makes you think they're gonna just do away with it?
I know. I was just trying and get this narrowed down instead of saying, repeating ourselves. The second sentence really is incorporated into, I don't know who put that in. I didn't put it in.
Well, I put it in another context, but in the discussions that we had, some of the members of IM team had concerns that if we do things cheaper, faster, better, it could lead to shortcuts that could decrease safety to the workforce. And that was a major concern. We wanted to get something in here that said, no, you still have to, the workforce still has to be safe, blah, blah, blah. And we thought that by putting integrated safety management in there, that said, you can't ignore the workforce safety.
Yeah.
But that was a concern.
I think where you say assuring the continued safe, secure, and compliant management of Hanford's budget and workforce. That encompasses ISMS and VPP and conduct of ops, and
If you just get
there's
rid of,
all kinds of things that,
And then just flow it to the last
just put
sentence.
the period after workforce and call that.
yeah, I mean, I think if we're gonna start pointing out different systems, then why don't we talk about conduct of ops and VPP and, we know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's high level.
I guess the point is the
Is it?
ISM includes all that, with safety, conduct. and all
It
that.
does.
Well, no.
That paragraph has been in the last 2 or 3 priority work, and where it comes
Okay.
from is this in the 5-year plan, where DOE has core operations and says safely, securely, and compliantly manage Hanford's critical resources efficiently, including improving infrastructure to reliably sustain the Hanford cleanup mission, maintain safeguards and security for the Hanford site. And we've had that in for a long time to get this core operation thing that's appeared at least in the last 4 or 5-year plans.
But I like Becky's,
Yeah,
it's cleaner, but
it's
we,
cleaner and it's telling them what to do, not how to do it.
exactly, it's clean. Becky's got a good idea. We don't need more, we don't need excruciating amount of detail.
Concise and high level.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're not
But
duplicating the 5-year plan.
But that's where it came from.
Yeah, and while I can appreciate it, I just feel like I don't think that we need to actually call it out.
And I'll be honest with you, 90% of the Department of Energy staff do not understand ISM.
Well, then they need to.
They need to.
There have been,
I can
there
tell you
has
that
been,
the workforce does.
Yeah.
Workforce
Yeah,
is
that's
way
what I'm
better.
about.
That's why I use the workforce.
All 3 companies flying EPP flag.
Yeah.
Okay,
moving
All
on,
right. You got that change? We're gonna get rid of that.
it's all gone.
Okay. Okay, next point, public involvement activities are priority of the board to provide information gathered, develop the public decision process.
This is the most contentious, this bullet
Right.
statement here is the most contentious part of the entire advice topic.
So I'm going to be the bad guy here and voice a very strong opinion about this being a high level advice. Certainly will make sense down below if we want to do that, but we saw several presentations today that there is a lot of things going on, but for us to talk about fundings to the HAB as a high level process seems a little self-serving, and my recommendation is to eliminate this and put something down below regarding, the support of the agencies to keep doing activities out in the public, getting public involved. But I have a really hard problem with this particular one.
Unless we call them out on this, okay?
Call them out.
We need to call out DOE standpoint that they keep shrinking our budget, shrinking the amount of time we meet, shrinking the locations, and doing everything to minimize and I understand minimizing the cost, but the point is that it's just been totally downhill.
But this needs to be in the co-advice.
Right.
Yeah.
This is part of public outreach and communications.
Yes.
I hear you, Rob, but it also, I'm gonna tell you, we are already still doing more than every other board.
Right.
So I know Megan has had a lot of challenges with headquarters defending our budget today. So putting it as the first item here. When we're saying site, we want you to clean up cheaper and faster. And
But
get
give us
work
more
done.
money.
And then we're turning around and saying, but give us money. That is, for
Very
me, if I was reading that, I would have issues with it. If I was receiving it and it's just like, okay, you're telling me you want me to go do more with less and faster for the site, but then you're saying, but we want you to give, you need to give us more money.
What if you take the money out of it and just make it simply opportunities?
Regional meetings and.
Yeah, we need to restore some of that.
So, tomorrow the
Should
co
this
is gonna be
be
talking about
part of
advice.
co?
So I think, I don't even know if we put this in our draft advice for tomorrow, so we should.
It
If we did-
definitely, yeah.
Get it now. I thought you said there was a co-advice to this,
Uh,
not a co.
COE.
Question for Ed.
The co-advice, no, the advice we're talking about we're doing during the community outreach and engagement meeting tomorrow. I would suggest we make sure that that's front and center in the advice that, to support HAB members, because we talk a lot about in the advice that the IMT has been working on, supporting the HAB, including the HAB, listening to the HAB, but also to do that, HAB members need to be able to fully participate in an equitable way.
So question for you, Ed.
Yeah.
First of all, this is actually two bullets that got merged together, so it might be two separate ones. One's regional dialogue and one's HAB. What if we got rid of the bullet and just have that high level public involvement activities are priority for the board? Can you live with that?
I would live with it if we put it down into the other consideration.
Okay, put it as an advice bullet instead of outside.
Yeah, it is not a policy strategic issue that's up above it. It just isn't.
We'd have to figure out a way to word it actively, but that way it's still there, but it's not front and center.
As written, it doesn't fit with.
That's what I just said. We need-
Right,
we need-
right, it doesn't, right.
Yeah. We'll need to work.
Isn't it a core value of the board though?
Yeah.
I mean, we
But
talk
also-
about workforce safety as a core value, so is public involvement and engagement,
Not according to the list.
really?
Involve the public.
So it's public involvement, and I will remind you that our charter says that role is the three agencies.
To have as a
To
component of it,
support
but not
true.
the only base. So yeah, I think that works as a workaround. Any objections?
Let's hear from Richard has some ideas on this too. Go ahead, Richard.
Trying to find my mute button. No, I agree. It is inappropriate to ask for funding above, especially before the other ones.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm surprised that, we still exist the way things were going. So, it's important that we present ourselves as an important entity and giving positive, reassurance to the process of cleanup. So that was my point.
Thank you.
Comment from Liz online as well.
Was online?
Liz Manson.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I just wanted to question, or just, I guess, clarify, that, reducing the total cost of cleanup is not the same as doing cleanup cheaper and faster in the short term. It really means doing cleanup with dramatically increased funding now to reduce the long-term costs. And I just want to make sure that there aren't like dramatically different interpretations of that, especially hearing after the presentations this morning, because it sounds like maybe we're not all on the same page on that piece, that the we're saying do more with less and give us more money is actually, I don't know that I would agree. That's what that doing more with less. Anyway, I just want to clarify that point because it seems like maybe there is some disagreement about this concept, which has been in advice for since the board started, that to have compliant cleanup, you have to increase funding now. So you're not carrying a 700 million plus min-safe budget every year to just keep buildings in place. You have to increase funding to get cleanup projects done so that the overall long-term cleanup can finish ever. Not let's do it all cheaper, faster now. So I just want to clarify that. Thanks.
Yeah, Liz, this is Chris. We haven't really addressed that in one way, shape, or form, because I think how DOE spends its money, more now, less later, more later, less now, that's not what we want to try and tell them. It's just that overall, which is what that life cycle report says, it's going to cost this much and we'd like to move it back the other way. That's really what we're saying. And when you look at that life cycle report, where they're actually spending the most amount of money starts in the early 2030s for about 30 years. It's not immediate. It's maybe 10 years from now when that spending ramps up. But we're not really going there one way or the other. We're not saying spend more now, less later, spend less now, more later. We're just saying reduce cost and schedule.
Right.
That's all we're trying to get across.
And again, to be the bad guy in the room, this is not directed at just DOE. It's directed at all three agencies.
What we're asking for is more efficiencies.
Optimization.
And I think that we're replacing efficiencies with cost and money, but efficiencies will produce, lower costs.
Which is what Ray says
He's looking for.
Yeah, right.
So we're truly.
So we should be using a word of efficient operations. Streamlined.
Effective, optimize.
Okay,
I like the optimize. I like the first bullet you have. I think when I read it, I know I'm moving forward. We're not ready, but Liz brought it up. So I thought the first bullet, through effective collaboration, we're going to optimize scope, schedule, and cost. It does to complete the cleanup sooner. It doesn't say exactly how you spent your money, but we're leaving that up to hopefully decision making.
And then the second part is, and tell us about it.
Right. So I think that I don't see it saying do less now. I don't read it that way, but we do have to be careful that we're not.
Okay, so since we're on that bullet. Having worked on the other side of the street as a contractor or DOE, requests a report. So we're telling DOE and their contractors, because the contractor will do it, spend our tax dollars writing or preparing a report to bring to us. Is it really smart use of our tax dollars to say, write a report?
What if we change it to a briefing?
I can live with that, but it's just like knowing how reports can get very costly.
I think what we originally asked for is metrics.
Right.
We wanted metrics.
Which is the second bullet.
Yeah, second bullet
I
is
think
that.
you're requesting updates or kind of like follow-up.
Yeah,
Like
something,
we want to know.
a briefing, an update briefing, something. But yeah, I don't want a document that can go on the shelf that costs tens of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars.
It was a report out, not a report. Yeah.
Yeah, so Richard has been patiently waiting for the comment, and then we're gonna clarify where we are and where we're going. So Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, am I live? Okay.
You're live.
All right. Yeah, I agree with the request for the briefing rather than the report. If not engaging the HAB with, possible things that could improve the, collaboration to optimize things. Just the comment about having more money, having been with the contractors for so many years, especially when we got the AARA money, a lot of that money was spent on things that were not very good. It was just simply to do things. And so the throwing more money at the contractors may not speed up work, because, we tore down things and then built the new ones to replace them type of approach. So, I think it is doing, having a tight budget can make it more efficient. The question comes down to is not getting in the way of progress with unnecessary paperwork. It's just like the comment was made about how long it takes to build a grout plant. I'd rather not build a grout plant with a diamond on top, which is typical of what we do at Hanford. We build diamonds in the middle of a pile of dog poop. So keep that in mind.
Okay, so we're moving on to bullet
Now,
number.
before we go, I appreciate your comment, but there's a counter to that comment being, do we want a commitment out of them? Once they give us this briefing, so what? Okay, we just continue business as usual. What's our expectation is to have? Because this is a high level, do we want them to commit to what they tell us? Should we tell them that's our expectation?
That's awkward because to a large extent, the contractors have to do what DOE tells them to do.
Well, this
And
is for the
there's-
contractors, this is for the three agencies. Right?
I thought we were talking about a contractor.
No.
Okay, Richard.
No, I was going to jump back in and say we can just respond to the briefing and cry BS. If
It's
they're really
a public record, will be recorded. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we beat that to death, I think.
Okay, so recapping where we've been. So the public involvement was edited, moved into the regular part.
But weren't we gonna keep the sentence in green?
Yeah, stand up.
Oh, got it.
And then the agreement, the co is going to look at this again tomorrow.
Right, because I made a comment that I wrote down before we got going here. We have a lot of advice, specifics on regional meetings, Hanford dialogue. We give a lot of feedback in the advice we're discussing tomorrow. So in great detail.
Okay.
So we'll hit everything.
So second bullet.
So, yeah, so.
Can I say one editing?
Go
So
for it.
that first bullet, it doesn't flow well.
Go for it.
The way
How
that
do you
it's,
want to fix it?
So to have advises the TPA agencies to, let's say, effectively collaborate instead of through effective
To
collaboration.
just collaborate.
Huh?
to just collaborate.
Okay,
Yeah, just,
yeah.
Get rid of, no, don't put the have advice.
no, no,
Just go, just do collaborate.
Collaborate among its, yeah. I think we have to say through effective, yeah.
yeah, that's accurate.
Collaboration.
That's good.
Yeah.
Would you say collaborate with?
Collaborate to
Among.
optimize.
Among.
You can get rid of among TPA agencies because we're already referring to the TPA agent.
Right,
Yep.
because,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the TP agencies, try to collaborate
gets
among the
advice
TP
there.
agencies.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
And another where we're going question. We do have about 15 minutes left. Do we want to focus on the contents here or consider what might be missing from the community perspectives?
I think we need to just continue working through here.
I do
The
too.
third bullet needs some more,
Third bullet needs to be.
in my mind.
Yes.
Okay, everybody good with the second bullet though? Before we jump to the third?
that's, yeah, the third bullet's actually two. There's a
Yeah,
problem there.
there's a lot in there.
Okay, I want to hear it. Anybody on second bullet?
I like
Going?
second.
So the second bullet after the semicolon should have an enter. There you go.
Right, accepting track changes artifact.
Yeah,
Oh, that's why I said, this seems like there's multiple
Yeah,
bullets here.
it's two
Okay,
things.
got it.
So,
Okay.
could also reprint a plain version, like if we work through this into a little bit of length, we could reprint plain in this part.
Sure.
Okay, so second, third, okay, is second bullet done? Is that true? Second bullet, we're good. Even, except for that semicolon at the end of the sentence, the last sentence.
it's a parallel sentence, so semicolon belongs there. But yeah,
Well, then you better go up to the first bullet and put a semicolon there.
absolutely.
My gosh, never police.
I'm a consistency nut, so
Good,
it's
no,
like.
it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for you.
Okay, so now we're on the
Before the second, I think discuss, I don't quite know if I was, you gotta remember, I was used to be the guy that had to report back on these and what you mean by discuss. Do you really want to provide a feedback on, do you want to line by, what do we want to discuss? How do we want to discuss it? What are the expectations of this? Discuss what?
Ryan's,
Sorry, no, you continue that. Mine was a separate, like, factual comment. Yes, thank you.
I mean, I guess I can move on. We'll get it later.
Okay, we're okay with discussing.
Yeah.
My only quick thing on that bullet was there's multiple on-site landfills. Are you talking about urban?
Yeah,
Would it be good to specify that?
sure. Utilization of earth. Just, it's utilization of earth.
Oh, okay.
Which we'll have to spell out, but yeah.
Please continue.
Good job.
You know, they probably think they're doing that already.
DOE does.
Okay.
Now, on that, the sentence says effective workflow sequencing has potential to significantly reduce cost and schedule. Well, this is true of various projects, and I think if we got the word efficiency in there also, it would really address a lot of the concerns that Rob has. But that would make a really good bullet by itself. Effective workflow sequencing, get efficiency in there, has potential to significantly reduce the cost and schedule of any project on Hanford. Not just the landfill.
Yeah,
And that's a good general,
I mean, we pull that out of the bullets and put it up at the top.
yeah. And see if we can get the word efficiency in there also.
Okay, before we do that, what do you think, Matthew?
Effective, efficient workflow.
I could see it being a separate bullet. Yes, I'll think about pulling it up above.
So we're
Just
looking,
kind of match it.
we're looking for Matthew to,
Yeah, Matthew, I believe has a comment on this somewhere.
Yeah, I was looking at it, kind of going back and forth and raising my hand down. It's like some of the, like, I kind of wonder if balancing cleanup activities to optimize utilization of RDF might be better. But then again, like the heart of the matter is the soil and debris and how that's used is the key point that I think we're trying to hit. So, and then on the effective workflow sequencing, I'm not sure if we need to suggest how DOE does the work. Going back to some of the previous comments, but if others feel that this needs to be included, that's fine.
Well, I think what we heard from Ray today is that one of the ways we want to try and reduce costs or accelerate schedule is through incremental improvements and making work processes more efficient. And he did mention that this morning.
Yeah.
So historically, that's how you, in project management, that's how you bring your schedule back to something that's reasonable, so you don't overrun your cost budget.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Yeah, I was gonna jump back in and mention that LIDS has that objective to provide feedback to DOE on what went well with previous projects and to use in future ones. So I'll be looking forward to other people jumping into that conversation so we can prepare that facility and sort of piggyback on this type of advice. So we have advice coming out of LIDS on that very subject.
So I would also again remind people this is for all three agencies, just not DOE. And everybody understand that, that this is just DOE, you go do it.
Are we putting that explicitly in this?
Yes, always.
It's implied, I know it.
It's,
Doesn't have to repeat it.
we always say we're advising the tri-party agencies. It's the first,
Yes.
the first thing at the top of the advice.
Right.
Okay, what are we doing with the sentence?
Let's leave it there, I guess, if you want to put efficient after effective. Effective and efficient workflow sequencing has the potential. The one. Next bullet.
All right, everyone in agreement?
Yeah, move that above balanced characterization now.
Okay.
Yeah, well, then we'll have to reword it, but yeah, we're wordsmithing instead of looking at content.
Yeah.
So, conducting outreach along the expected transportation routes.
Well, balanced
Okay, I like,
characterization now should be a separate bullet.
Yeah, but we're still gonna have to reword it all, so let's do that. What's wordsmithing in the IMT?
Okay.
For the next bullet,
Conduct.
conduct outreach,
why do we ask for a plan?
Because
And then,
because there's a milestone for that.
no, that's what I mean. We need a plan and. Yeah, and then the outreach.
Well, the plan is the milestone that they just extended to July. And then the outreach has to happen in 2028. That's why we're calling it out in the 2028 advice. The plan will already be done.
Can you explain that a little bit? I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
So the DOE is required by the milestone that was December 31st and got pushed to July 1st to announce what they're where they're grouting the material and what the transportation routes are.
Right.
So that's the plan. And so then if the shipments are gonna be starting in 2030, DOE should be doing outreach along the transportation corridor in 2028.
Why was there an extension? Do we have any background on that?
Because the RFP, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself here, not anyone else. The RFP for the grouting didn't go out until earlier this month or late last month. And it doesn't close until the end of February. So they don't have the numbers yet to figure out what the final plan is. I think the RFP probably got delayed from when it was originally going out. And so they're,
Final plan for how much will be
no,
grouted?
no,
When?
where? or whether they're shipping liquid or solid and, where it's going.
Okay. Seems like
So-
there's a lot of question marks here.
Yeah, so once they get those RFPs in by the end of February, they have 3 or 4 months to process that information, come up with the winner of the bid and tell ecology and everyone else whether it's being grouted on site or off.
Or go out with another whole RFP if.
Why would you build a whole grouting facility if you're not gonna grout on site?
The RFP doesn't specify whether the grouting is happening on site or not.
Okay, but my question was, why would you build a whole grouting facility if you're not gonna use it?
They didn't build a whole grouting facility yet.
I thought that's what the RFP is for.
The RFP include, so, all right, I'm way out of my lane here, so.
Is this being discussed on another
So
committee?
the RFP specifically says, we want to get up to 40 million gallons to these 2 places and disposed as grouted stuff. But it gives the options of, you can either grout it on site, you can grout it off site, or right off site, or you can grout it at the facility. So the people responding to the RFP are going to be throwing in what they think their best strategy is, and the DOE and the contractors are going to pick that one. And from there, so that's when you decide whether you're building an on-site grouting facility or whether it's,
Okay.
yeah.
That's why we don't take a position.
I'm almost positive that DOE's already made a decision. And that's why the RFP was out.
But they need the number, they need a quote.
And
to
they
justify
back
the
up
number.
their decision with numbers from the RFP.
Okay,
But I
so,
think.
All right.
all right, back to the bullets.
Thank you.
Back to the bullets.
But I mean,
We can have a whole separate discussion on the RFP and the plan during the twist meeting.
Tomorrow.
Yes. Okay. The bullet. Okay, so the only thing I've got to say is that from me, conducting this outreach in 2028, do we really need to specify 2028 or as soon as possible?
Yeah, I would
Or as
say.
soon as practicable, something like that, as opposed to a date?
Yeah, I just, because this advice is 2028 and beyond, I wanted to make sure that it gets put on the front end, not at the 2030s.
And that's why I said as soon as practical,
Yeah,
as opposed to
Yeah.
a lock in a date, because if they can do it next week,
right.
I want them to do it next week, not say, well, you told us we didn't have to do it until 2028.
Amen.
That's good.
Because wouldn't that be kind of like behind the curve?
No, that's about right. The
Okay.
outreach would be 18 months or so before the shipping campaign normally.
So why don't we just simplify this? Really, that last sentence, I don't think,
Has to be there.
It does,
Yeah,
because
because
otherwise there's not consensus on this point.
the HAB does not take a position on grouting. It does support safe transportation.
Why don't we take a position on it?
Because we don't have consensus on it,
Not everyone.
yeah.
which is why that statement's there, because the HAB formally does not have a position on ground.
All right, move on.
Yeah.
Sorry, construction.
It's okay, so we're at high level. Rob, this is you. High level waste facility.
No, we said that, good.
You like it?
Okay. Anybody else?
Where are you at?
Accelerate design and
Design
construction.
construction activity. That's part of it.
There was already a hot start. Raw is already going.
And, somebody else might be able to explain, Rob, the.
You want to just say, you want high level waste in front of the HLW? Or
Just thinking that
the waste treatment plant is all of it combined. You could say waste treatment plant facilities.
That's it. No, what you're saying. Well, you don't have to say that's good.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and the hot stuff they've already.
No, not high level waste. This
You've
is high
got
level.
hot start there, which is very,
Yeah, but it
That's
says a
what-
waste treatment plant facilities. Low activity waste is already, like he's pointing out, low activity waste is
So-
already,
The Yeah, but the facilities are also for HLW.
Is,
Okay.
I
and,
understand that. I
reading.
understand that, but it's,
What if we do this? Take the second sentence. Continue to apply lessons learned from the low activity waste facility to the design and construction of a high level waste facility in order to accelerate design and construction activities.
Yes.
Okay.
And then delete the rest on the front end.
Yeah, because I don't want to get into the hot start, cold
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a lot.
it's too hot and cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're fine.
Keep going. Anything else on that bullet?
Just think when we had worked it, we added that last sentence there, which is pretty obvious. So
Yeah.
you can get rid of that.
And we've been doing, anyway. Complete the transfer of the season strontium capsules from the Westcliff to the interim storeroom pad before the milestone date of 2030.
So the milestone date is September 30th, 2029, not 2030.
Good catch. Thank you. Okay, anything else on that one?
Do we need to say the transfers have begun? The it accepts.
What says it right there? Yeah.
And just take out and just say capitalize successful and get rid of that first clause.
Well, for what we heard today, we actually haven't transferred anything yet.
By the time we get this signed out, it will be
It
transferred.
will,
Yeah.
it'll be happening
By the
in
end
the
of the
next
week.
couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple.
We got a whole other month before we
Yeah.
actually have this signed out.
Transferred into the cask. The cask is still yet to be transferred to Drexel.
They are in dry storage, just not outside the
Yeah.
facility.
You can say transfers are beginning.
Well, I don't think, yeah, let's take the time element out of it and just say successful
right.
completion, we'll do that, yeah.
Optimize groundwater treatment to maximize contaminant removal, reducing long-term footprint and duration of pump and treat emissions. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
And I think we can maybe take out the and at the very end.
No, I got caught on that.
That's part of the semicolon bit.
Yeah.
So consistency, we should have it, but at the last, second to last one only.
Right.
And we've now
All right,
changed it, there we
grammar
go.
police.
You started it.
Yeah, started.
So you take the one above.
Yep,
Put the new one in.
and then we need to reword the bottom one, but.
Yeah.
How about prioritizing disposal, transport and disposal of true, any?
Do we need
any
to
hard-
say to Carlsbad? Why don't we just say
Prior to.
waste isolation? Carlsbad?
Okay,
I mean,
Final destination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just off-site,
Just
yeah.
Whip is that actually in Carlsbad?
Right.
30 miles away.
That's true.
so prioritize transport and off-site disposal.
Yes, that's very good.
Anything later get changed?
So are we down to the last bullet? Public involvement activities are a priority for the board,
Yeah.
provide information, gather input.
Which we'll have to reword to
We're
make
gonna
it
have to
active,
reword
but
that.
other than that, I think,
It's a
Yeah.
placeholder, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So one thing about the public involvement activities is that, we used to use them, and it's different now, I think. And that we would use them to get advocacy for increasing the budget for Hanford. And many of our state legislators and our House of Representatives, I'd worked with Dr. Hastings on this a long time ago, it's just a really important aspect of cleanup, that we get advocacy from our elected officials to Washington DC for greater and greater budgets. Okay, and And the more they close down our public involvement activities or opportunities in different cities and around, we're losing that back, that buildup, we're losing that. And they have to advocate for this budget.
Totally agree. That's the point we're making in the advice.
Right.
At the.
And the code stuff.
Yeah.
And
the code.
recognizing that
Code.
today, there's also other organizations like Hanford Communities that has a very strong advocacy
Right.
active environment.
Right.
There are a lot of other organizations now in addition to us. We're important. I mean, Mia goes back to DC to advocate for our budget with Hanford Challenge. So, you know, it's like, yeah, we're not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it's not important.
Right.
It's just that it's making sure that we place it in the right place. And
Yeah, so the co-advice really talks about building trust, rebuilding engagement so that there's consistent support and knowledge about the site, so people will support dollars for cleanup. So that's, we put that in our intro.
So are you saying we should take this bullet out?
No, I just don't think we need to add Rob. I'm just letting Rob know that is a really good point, and it's really articulated in the co-advice. So but I don't know if you need to restate it here.
I just want to look at the clock. We have an hour and 15 minutes for lunch before harm, and we're already eating into it.
Right.
No pun intended.
So,
One last comment. In an earlier version, there was words relating public involvement to regulators and helping to get budget.
Was it?
And it got edited out.
Yeah.
And I think we could add something to the end of this, and then it would tie it better to the theme of the advice. So I can look to see what was edited out,
Yeah.
see if it makes sense to put it in.
That's when we had like 3 different public involvement ones, because public involvement is not just to get money, it's also to involve the public.
which is,
Yeah. So,
Okay, so note for your writing assignment. Are there anything missing that the IMP needs to consider before this comes back to the board today?
Again, thank all of the people that spent
Yes, yeah.
hours and
The
hours
team did a good job.
putting this together, so.
With that,
Well written.
any final words before we close out our subcommittee of the whole?
yeah,
depending on the
I guess we're just. Okay, real quick. Megan's got a couple of updates. So we're gonna put her on the hot seat for a couple of minutes. Not necessarily, but you know, since everybody's here, before everybody breaks.
Not necessarily good, but good in the sense that we found a way to make things work. So just a quick membership update while everyone's here. The path forward that we've decided to take, because we're not getting movement on the 25 packet, is to combine, and we can call them first and second, but we have the 25 packet and the 26 packet, which is for this next upcoming October. We're combining the 25 and 26 packets. So there's a lot of information here, so I'll try and keep it short. If we keep the current packet in, we're looking at maybe getting new members in June. But since we run on the fiscal year, it would count as their year, if that makes sense. So we might only get a couple months out of them, but then it would count as a year. Does that?
as a term.
As the term, yeah. So we're gonna push like crazy. Mary Ann's not here, or I would throw her under to have her explain it all, but Mary Ann is working on news releases and like a flyer that was knocking up for this upcoming year. We have to have our 26 packets done by February 22nd. So Mary Ann is going to be reaching out to current members that maybe might have like their term ending, example of Tom, because I just know about yours, about what those next steps look like, right? Like what your letters and all of those things look like. She's also going to be reaching out to anyone that was in the 25 packet to make sure they still want to be put into the 26 packet. She's going to be emailing. I did ask her, we have our HAB membership. I think it's HAB membership at rl.gov, something like that. I asked her to email from that so that we all have access to it. We're trying to be better about being tighter. So just watch for those emails. She's gonna be sending that out hopefully later this week, early next week, and then she does need a response
Soon as possible.
by February 6th. Yeah, February 6th. So, if you don't hear from her by early next week, she said just to reach out to us or her, if you guys have her email. We'll go from there.
Are you reaching out to the members or their nominating authorities? Or both?
Maybe both, I mean,
Because nominating authorities would be the appropriate way. And do we know what the packet looks like, what we're supposed to have done in the next month?
a little bit.
Okay.
More than we. So the other perk that we have, just as a note, trying to see the positive in things, right, is that I think it's Savannah River and Oak Ridge, but like I told Sue and me, I could have heard the two, are currently going through the White House process right now. So what's nice is we'll hopefully have some more info by the 20th of February that we can use for our stuff going forward. So if you guys know of anyone that's interested, I think there was a couple empty slots in the 25 packet, so it also gives us an opportunity to try and fill those, so.
Question. So if you were in the 25 packet and it gets merged in with the 26 packet and it doesn't get approved till June, possibly?
No, we're putting a new one in, so we're gonna have members starting in October, so we're gonna roll the rest of this year out as we currently are.
So everyone on the board will be in one packet.
I still don't get it. Because some of us have still not been approved from
Right.
the
So-
2025 packet.
Right, and won't be, so we won't have new members this fiscal year.
I understand new members, but I'm talking about existing
We
members.
won't have
Like,
any members outside the current 18 that we have. This,
so we're only gonna have 18 people on the HAB?
Correct.
So the people in the 2025 packets,
Have to wait until October.
till October.
Sounds right.
Oh,
It doesn't, but that's what it is.
So Chris, you're gonna be chair of the twist until October.
Hell.
all of this, I met with Roberto, I've talked with Ryan about it, like, obviously, we're not happy and it's not what we want to do, but we are doing everything in our power to try and make things work the best that we can. This gives us a bigger group of people starting in October so we can start fresh, because if we continue to push the 25 packet, we won't be able to put in our 26, so then we won't have those members for 26, if that makes sense. So, we're merging. We did talk about having at the bottom of all the advice, Ryan had talked about like a caveat saying that, you know, that because we still can hit quorum. Per the order is half plus one, so I think we need 10, so keep that in mind for February. But we can put at the bottom of the advice that this advice was passed with like these 18 members represented. It wasn't our full 38. Am I missing anything, Ryan?
Well, I just wanted to emphasize what Megan said, that it's not an ideal situation, super frustrating. Like she said, the current thought that she had from headquarters was that the current packet that we've been waiting on since October wouldn't be approved till June at the earliest, optimistically, which would leave those new members or reappointed members with like 2 or 3 months on the fiscal year, and it would also count towards their full year of eligibility, and they'd only be around for one HAB meeting. So by rolling the packets together, we would be able to give them an actual full year. We're already going almost the full year, no matter what happens, if we were to still move forward with the 25 packet as planned, the members wouldn't be approved until June. It'd be almost nearly a full year. That we're already gonna have to navigate that issue. And by doing this too, it also, like Nina said, it'll give these members that are supposed to be appointed right now, it'll still give them a full extra year of eligibility rather than them only being appointed for one board meeting and a whole year of eligibility goes away out of their 6 years.
And we want to make sure that we're pointing out that whether you're a current one of the 18 or not, we hope that everyone is still participating, right? There's absolutely nothing stopping anyone from participating as a member of the public. Like you being here, Rob being here, whoever wants to be here. And this includes people that are in the current package that haven't been members before. That we hope you guys all participate as we move forward together.
Where exactly is the packet right now?
In the clouds somewhere.
That's not a particularly satisfying answer.
I know it's not, I mean, I wish I could give you more than that, but, It's somewhere between my management and Donald Trump.
So with 18 active members now and a potential 38, do we have a quorum to approve anything?
Yeah, yes.
They're redefining quorum as 50% plus one of the appointed members, not of the seats on the board.
We're going to BACA. BACA defines quorum, so they're using, DOE headquarters has said that BACA takes precedence, so we're using the FACA definition as opposed to the OGR definition.
And I'll say, if any seats don't have a member that's approved and they want to talk to me, Oregon is willing to serve as their voice on the board for consensus and comments.
I have a question.
I mean,
Say we want-
Absolutely. Pam's seat doesn't have anyone in it.
I know.
Well, neither does mine at this point.
Great, so you didn't have an alternate, they were there in the packet.
They're in the
Okay,
the
Yeah.
next packet.
you can, if you, yeah, so good.
It is a lesson learned moving forward, though, that we've talked about too, is having your alternate and your primary staggered a year. So that if we run into anything like this, there's at least a backup, because we have lost a lot of people because. Like, well, Mia's fine, but like, as an example, Mia and her alternate are even the same 6-year, so same 6-year and. So they both go, so I think it is very good reason to stagger every other, like an even odd year, plus stagger your 6 years, so that there's some turnover.
Except that now everyone's gonna be on the same, there's no staggering anymore.
We have a way of staggering.
Awesome.
Yeah, we
Should,
should be discussing that.
can we push Karn back 15 minutes or if we're late or no?
Can I ask my question then? Just so I'm clear, because earlier I was like, am I allowed to ask a question? Am I allowed to speak? Am I?
Technically, you shouldn't be saying that you're representing that, because you're a member of the public, you're not. On your seat right now, but yes,
Okay.
any member of the public can speak, you just won't have an official vote when it comes to passing advice.
Committees, everybody's allowed to speak. Everybody is equal. The only thing with the committees is the leadership roles. That's the only, that's why Chris is gonna be chair of Twist until Rob gets approved. You can't,
Other than that, all the other leadership roles are
We don't have a national.
not
liaison.
having the
I'm a
packet.
national
think
liaison
we're good.
too, so.
yeah.
Oh, it's national liaison, yeah.
But that's a different issue,
Yeah.
a different situation. If that isn't a committee.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I said, committee of the whole, committee meetings. We're all equal.
So if I have an opinion on something that involves the workforce, I can't say I'm speaking for Hantac? Can I say I'm speaking for the workers?
I'll just.
Like gray area stuff, I'm just saying like.
I'm just curious, I don't want to be, speaking out of turn, but,
You are a member of the public
and I'm a worker.
and a worker. So it's kind of it's like, let's not even make it, because
Right.
Beck, you've been around long enough. We open that door, we get the lawyers walking through, and we don't need them.
You
But
are
not-
equally qualified member of the
Yeah.
public to talk about.
You wanna take any, the rest of the questions to lunch and.
Yeah.
Let those who want to leave.
And there's some of these questions, we just don't have answers. She
I
doesn't
just
have.
want to make sure that I'm not saying something in a meeting that's not.
Here's
I think
something.
it's back here.
Is it here?
Hey, Josh.
Who's your Hamtech replacement?
For farm.
What's that?
As
Who's for
written,
what?
starts at
Hamtech
12:45, starts.
Nobody.
Paper goes at 1, then we have EPA at 2:15.
National.
So we can just have the wiggle room out of it. We're fine.
Yeah, you have to be on the board to be.
So you're back here, as close to one as possible.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
let's
you
meet
still.
for like 12:50 and it's still good.
Okay.
Anybody wants barbecue, we're going to the
Same for all leaders.
Ike's, Baby
But
Jane's.
not right now.
Yeah.
My packet hasn't.
If
I
anyone.
would think so. Why would they?
They are.
Okay. I think we-
Very.
I think we officially closed.
Thanks, everybody.
I know that.
Here, let me give it a bit.
Is this room secure enough to leave?